Hopefully we have, touch wood, no more technical difficulties. All right, this Google Hangout is on air. Apparently, I'm just waiting to see what comes up on my laptop. If there is a bit of a delay, it says waiting. Oh, looks like we're ready to roll.
Woo! Okay.
All right, I need to... Give me a sec, I need to mute this. I don't want to watch that in HD because I will save my bandwidth. All right, so we're good to go. Say hello, boys.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hello, everyone.
Apologies for the technical stuff. I don't know. I don't even know what happened. So basically, I created the Google Hangout, sent the guys the links, Ray joined, and then Eric was having troubles, but then for some reason, Ray had to invite Eric to join the chat, but we worked it out.
Technology. It's there. It's not there when you need it the most.
Oh, no. So how have you guys been?
Just good. Enjoying this last wave of summer heat. Hopefully it cools down.
Yeah. Eric, what about you?
I'm doing great.
Cool. Have you guys been looking forward to doing this list?
Definitely.
Hell yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, let's get things started. I have a cat at my feet. What do you want, Lenny? As soon as we start, you come in here. Yeah. Sorry. Do you want to say hello to everyone?
My cat does the same thing sometimes. Every time I start recording, it hears my voice and then starts making its way towards me like, hey, what are you doing? Is it involve food?
Yeah, that's all he cares about. Do you want to sit down?
Yeah.
You going to join us for this? I think he might. He'll just sit there. We'll see how it goes.
That's cool. Hey, Lenny.
All right. So these are our top 20 Japanese films from 2000 to 2009. As always, we will have 5 honorable mentions, and then we'll get stuck into the top 20.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. So I'm just checking the chat. I think everything looks all right. It should be good, guys.
Cool. So what's the order of things?
Well, how do you guys want? Who went first last time? I can't remember.
I can't remember.
I have a terrible memory. Well, maybe I'll go first. I'll go first, then Ray, then Eric.
All right. Sounds good to me.
All right. Okay, so top 5 honorable mentions. My first one is a really odd one that I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's Highlander, The Search for Vengeance.
Does it involve a last one? Like there can be only one? No, it's a different.
Yeah. It's that Highlander. It's a Japanese anime version of Highlander.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen it.
So it's the Connor McLeod thing. It's like, it's cool. It's one of the best Highlander movies. Most of them are crap. The first one's pretty good, and then the rest of them are all terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, Japan decided to make their own Highlander film, and they called it Highlander: The Search for Vengeance. I remember going into a DVD store one day, and it was sitting on a shelf, and I was like, I did the same thing that you did, Ray. I was like, Highlander? As in, like that Highlander? And I looked, and I'm like, oh, shit. This is a Japanese anime version of Highlander, and it's actually quite good.
I imagine the quality in the fights would be pretty good too.
Yeah, like the animation's like really good, decent story. Yeah, if you like Highlander, I kind of like the first one, but the rest of them are all a bit rubbish. I like the music from the first one because Queen did the music. There's no Queen music in the anime though, from what I remember.
That's a shame. We could have used
Eric,
pieces of the universe.
Eric, have you heard of this thing or seen it?
I have not even heard of it, but now I'm interested.
See, one from me. Finally, Corey has something that nobody has ever heard of. Awesome. All right, Ray.
All right, some of my honorable mentions, I'll have to apologize in advance because I have not seen a lot of these in a long time, so I've forgotten why I liked it. All I know is that I liked them. Um, just given the era of the movies we're going to talk about today. But my first honorable mention is Hannah and Alice, directed by Iwai Shunji. I don't remember much of this one except I liked it, and it was about the relationship of these two high school friends, and I remember them fighting over a boy. And oh god, it's been a long time, but I do remember the anime sequel that followed up to, was it last year? 2 years ago? It was like 2 years ago, and basically all the main cast from the original movie redid their roles again, and it was quite fun to watch. But yeah, Hannah and Alice is my first honorable mention.
Cool. I haven't seen Hannah and Alice, or if I have, I do not remember it. Eric?
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. It's actually one of my favorites, I think, from this particular director. It's very, I don't know, it's just very purely entertaining. I really like the performances. I like the interaction between the leads. And yeah, that'll probably happen tonight, where we're kind of searching for memories of some of these movies. Because I remember it being really good, but some of the details escape me.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think this movie was Aoi Yu's breakout role. I could be wrong, but I just knew that she got really big after this movie. She was one of the main girls. But she went on, what was her most recent one? She was in Tokyo Ghoul recently. And she was also in Rurouni Kenshin. She played Meg. She was in Hula Girls. She's been in a lot of stuff since Hannah and Alice, but yeah, breakout role for Aoi Yu.
One thing that kind of annoys me about her career is that she seems to be the supporting character a lot of times in movies. I'd like to see her more in like the lead role.
Yeah. I think like because she has such a soft-spoken character, a soft-spoken persona, like I think she's kind of, what's the word? Typecasted into the wholesome girl next door. So when you see when she does a role that kind of goes against type, it's actually really interesting. But I think, yeah, because she's typecast into that role, maybe that's why she doesn't get as many lead roles.
Sorry, I'm just being mauled by my cat right now. So
it's fine.
It's okay. Lenny's the real reason we all watch Pieces of Work.
Pretty much. He's the real guy. I should create his own channel. He gets up to some crazy shenanigans, this guy. Now he wants to bite me again. See? He latches on. You right? What? I don't know. I don't know what he wants. Do you want food? Too bad. All right, my next pick. Oh, is it me? No, it's Eric, isn't it?
It's Eric, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
That's all right. It's Lenny's fault.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna hit you hard right from the start, baby. I got Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All-Out Attack, 2001. This is directed by Shusuke Kaneko, who also did the Gamera trilogy of the 90s, which is really good. So in this one, you have three ancient guardian beasts who awaken and try to take down Godzilla before he destroys everything. This is actually probably my favorite Godzilla movie of all of them. I really like the monster designs in this. Godzilla himself, I really liked his design, man. He looks menacing in this one, definitely. He's really intimidating too. So there's some pretty good deaths in this and carnage. And his atomic breath is excellent. They use kind of a mix of physical and special effects like CGI, and I think the mix really works well in this. I also liked how they blended in some like fantastical stuff into like his origins and how he gets resurrected. So I really like this one. I recommend it. Yeah,
this is on my list as well, but it's actually it's my favorite Godzilla film as well.
Yes, it's worthy.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's one of my favorites. It's probably my favorite interpretation of the character because they turn him to a full blown out bad guy and they turn Ghidorah into a good guy. So that kind of reverse role was really interesting.
Cool. All right, my next one is kind of two movies. Well, it is two movies, so I'm cheating a little bit, but you kind of need to put them together. Zazumi and Azumi 2.
Nice.
I really enjoy these movies. I watched them after watching the Rurouni Kenshin trilogy. I was looking for something similar, and I found these. I've got like the 2-disc box set. I think I showed it the other day on my stream, and they're fun. They've got that kind of. They're not as good technically as the Rurouni Kenshin films because they don't have monstrous budgets, but they're perfectly serviceable movies. I know, Eric, you like these.
Higher on my list, baby.
Yeah, I'm sure. Ray,
it's not on my list, but I enjoyed those movies too. Who was it? Was it? Did Miike direct those? Was it Miike? Or at least the first one.
Ryohei Kitamura.
Oh, was it? Okay, I'm thinking, but it has Ueto Aya. She was the main character, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I remember enjoying it, and I remember being quite violent, quite bloody too. But yeah.
Cool. All right, your next one, Ray.
My next one is Water Boys, directed by Yaguchi Shinobu. It's what I really like about Water Boys. It takes these group of misfits and puts them into an area which they're basically, it's a fish out of water and underdog story. It's basically about boys in a synchronized swimming team, and it leaves all sorts of it goes into all sorts of fun shenanigans and really awkward situations. That's just all laughs from beginning to end.
Yeah, it's a really good film. I like it. Unfortunately, it's nowhere near as good as Adam Sandler's The Water Boy, which we all know.
H2O.
Jesus. All right. Eric, your thoughts on Water Boys?
I liked it. I like all of this director's films. Water Boys it probably has the theme that I'm least interested in of all of his themes of his movies, but it was executed well enough to hold my interest, and there was some funny stuff. I actually really look forward to his film from this year or last year, Survival Family or something. I haven't been able to see that one, so yeah, if anybody hasn't seen this director's movies, you could just check them all out.
Yeah. I really like how Japan does their fish out of water stories. They really, we mentioned Woodjob in the last list, and that was, not the same kind of film, but I don't know. The Japanese do those really well. Mm-hmm. Cool. All right. Next one.
All right, my next honorable mention is a film called Adrift in Tokyo from 2007. This is a drama-comedy hybrid. It's directed by Satoshi Miki, who directed films like Instant Swamp and Turtles Are Surprisingly Fast Swimmers. You got Joe Odagiri in the lead role. He was the villain in Azumi. And there's some good actresses in this, too. So this is about like a surly debt collector who offers like $10,000 to a guy if he agrees to accompany him on like a walking tour around Tokyo. And along the way, they bond together, they meet different people, and they come to terms with their own lives and dilemmas. Focuses a lot on everyday events, some of the humor of which is really good. The acting is top-notch by everybody. The characters are interesting. Even the side story involving the collector's wife and her co-workers is a lot of fun. So this is a solid flick that's worth a mention.
Cool. Ray,
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it.
No, I haven't either.
Here we go.
It's one of those. It's begun.
It's begun, yeah.
All right. My next one is Tokyo Gore Police.
Oh,
an over-the-top, really silly B-grade, low-budget horror film from Japan that's incredible. It's just batshit insane. When you think of those crazy, over-the-top Japanese horror gore fests, that is Tokyo Gore Police. Ray, your thoughts?
absolutely love Tokyo Gore Police, and from like the whole circle of directors and the low budget, fun, over the top, violent, bloody movies they release. I eat them all up. I love them all.
Cool.
Yeah, I really
Eric?
enjoy this one too. Yeah, I this is one of my favorites of like the recent, I guess you could call it J Gore movies or whatever.
Yeah.
This director has a long history of special effects work too. So it was interesting seeing him like take the take the reins. There's some really demented stuff in this one though. You get the lead actors from Audition is in it, and the amount of blood in this, could be more than Ricky O, the story of Ricky. Like that's how crazy it gets. So yeah, great movie.
If it's not more, it's close. It's almost on par.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's all those movies like, was it Frankenstein Girl versus Vampire
Girl. Yeah.
Yeah, Robo-Geisha, Mutant
Geisha.
Girl Squad.
Yeah.
Dead Sushi.
Yeah.
Dead
Oh my
Sushi.
god, Dead Sushi. They're so much fun. A lot of fun, those movies.
Oh yeah.
All right. Ray, your next one.
Speaking of fun, my next honorable mention is from the same circle of directors. It's The Machine Girl,
Hey.
directed by Yukichi Noboru. same reason why I love Tokyo Gore Police. Over the top action, plus all the lead actresses are hot. Like they're either grab your idols or porn actresses. And yeah, it's just a whole lot of madness. It's like it makes no sense. It's like a character who portrays another person's mother is like the same age as her classmate, as that student's classmate, or whatever. It's like logic out the door, but a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, I think we probably both agree with you there.
Yeah, this one was like right near the beginning of when this stuff started to hit in the U.S. Because when I saw the trailer for this, it blew my mind, and it came through. It was everything I thought it would be. And I think one of these directors did a film called Meatball Machine a few years earlier, and they're actually making a sequel to that. But yeah, this was kind of like the start where things started to go crazy, and then Tokyo Gore Police came next, and so yeah, Machine Girl is solid.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Eric, your next one.
Speaking of crazy, I got a film here. It's from the director of R100, and that is Symbol from 2009. This is a comedy with a little drama in it. The director also stars in it. So here's the plot synopsis for you. A Japanese man in polka dot pajamas wakes up in a large white room with hundreds of sculptures of cherub penises on the walls. Now, when he pushes a penis, a random object falls from the ceiling, so he has to figure out a combination of penises in order to get out of this room. Now, meanwhile, a Mexican wrestler hitches a ride with a surly nun and prepares for his next match. So those are the two different storylines. And yeah, it's very bizarre, very entertaining. There's not a whole lot more to say about it. Well, there is a little bit of abstract imagery, too, that comes into play. So what I would say is that this film, you may be able to watch it without subtitles, because a lot of the film is this dude in a room by himself trying to figure stuff out. So a lot of the comedy is very visual. So yeah, if you're interested in something completely nuts, I recommend Symbol.
So I take it this is a very family-friendly film?
If you want the kids to learn about the human anatomy, then
Yeah. Are all the dicks the same, or are they all different sizes?
No, they're all the same. They're all
Ah.
sticking out of the wall, and he just pushes one and just...
just a tip.
Right. I haven't seen Symbol. I've seen R100 and thought it was one of those movies I really liked it, but then I kind of didn't at the same time.
I haven't
They're
seen it
very-
either.
Yeah. It's very art house by the sounds of it. Is it like an art house film? Would you describe it as one? Or
It's
not
more
really?
like, I don't know if I would... Well, it kind of is, especially the last 20 minutes.
Okay. Cool. All right, my next one is Retribution from the
Nice.
director of Cure and Pulse and all those awesome movies. Retribution is... I don't really want to call it the spiritual successor to Cure, but it's probably the closest to Cure, like in tone and just in style and the way the film's presented. Again, I really like I think Eric and I have spoken about Cure a few times, and it's one of my favorite Japanese films of all time. And I was hoping with Retribution that it would be as good. It's not, but it's definitely worth checking out. It's been a while since I've seen it, but it's about a cop, and is he investigating a murder or something? He keeps seeing a woman in a red dress.
Correct.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a ghost story. There are definitely supernatural elements in this kind of detective story. It's worth watching. Ray, have you seen Retribution?
I have, but I don't remember anything just because it came out, I think, at a time where J-horror just started its big boom, like starting with The Ring and then The Grudge. And I think there were just a whole lot of other J-horror movies that came out relatively at the same time. So I think it was just one of those movies that, for me, was like, out of all the ones I watched, just got lost in the pile.
Yeah.
But I do remember seeing it, though.
Yeah. Eric?
Yeah, I really liked the themes in this one, and Koji Yakusho again is in the lead role. That's always nice. There are some certain imagery and scenarios that he uses that are kind of callbacks to some of his other films as well, but he kind of blends them together in a different way to explore a new theme. So I never really think that this director overdoes or is too repetitive, because when I watch one of his films, it's like there's no one else who makes films that are quite like this. So anytime he makes a horror film, I always get really excited about it. So yeah, Retribution's it's one of my favorites from him, actually. So I recommend it.
Cool. All right. Ray.
My next honorable mention is also a J-horror movie, Reincarnation, directed by Shimizu Takashi, the guy who did Ju-on: The Grudge. And if I remember the story correctly, like in the past there was this mass murder at a hotel, and everyone died, including the killer. Then fast forward some years later, I think under the pretext that they were making a movie about that event, by some bizarre coincidence, like people seem to be having dreams about what seemed to be past lives. That they all start to realize that maybe that they were once let me rephrase that. They all start to kind of have these memories about that event. So it goes into like this weird, trippy, like who was like, because obviously you can tell by the title of the movie, these guys are resurrected versions of whoever was killed. So it was fun seeing who was who in the previous life. And my wording is a bit confusing, but I think when you find out who's who and when everything comes together, I thought the payoff is really nice.
Eric?
Yes, I really enjoyed this one. This is the only Japanese horror film I ever got to see in a theater, because it was part of that horror movies to die for or something they had in the United States, and they actually played it in cinemas with a bunch of other movies, and the theater was packed because nobody knew that this was like a Japanese movie. They just went to see whatever horror movie that was playing that night. And it was really interesting. Everybody seemed to enjoy it, though, which was kind of surprising, even though they all groaned when the subtitles came up. But yeah, this movie's really good. Actually, the last like 20 minutes really makes the movie. It's great.
It's one of those movies I know I've seen, but I can't remember. Like Ray was saying earlier, with that whole J-horror boom, there were so many that came out during that era, and some of them they all kind of like blend into one for me, except there are a few that really stand out, and there might be one or two on my list, actually. I know there's definitely one on my list that I think is the best from that era. But yeah, Reincarnation, I don't particularly remember. All right. Next.
All right. I'm going with another Another honorable mention is Dead or Alive 2, Birds from 2000, a drama action film from Takashi Miike. We got Sho Aikawa and Riki Takuchi returning. This one's about two hitmen who are also friends from their like childhood years. They decide to kill together and then donate like stolen money to children in need of medical aid. So there's definitely a lot of creative moments in this one. There's a lot of charm to it. The interaction is nuanced and interesting. Some of the montages in this are really, really crazy stuff. I also liked how he changed up the location shots. In the previous film, the first Dead or Alive film was a lot of urban, and here there's a lot of island and ocean shots, which I liked. Shinichi Tsukamoto has a cameo that's pretty hilarious, and I like the ending a lot. So this is my favorite of the trilogy, and I recommend it.
Cool. I think the Dead or Alive trilogy are like true Miike films, and you know, he back in the late '90s, early 2000s is when he shined, and then we all kind of feel the same about him now, I think. Quick story, at the Melbourne International Film Festival that was going on recently, it was happening at the same time as the Indian Film Festival, so I prioritized the Indian one because there was virtually no Asian films at the Melbourne International Film Festival. One of the only ones that was playing was what was it? What was the one you both reviewed?
Blade of the Immortal?
Blade of the Immortal, yeah, that was the only one playing, and I didn't go because I was just like, what's the point? I don't know. Just, yeah.
Yeah.
I think his earlier films have a little bit more, I guess, how would I say, cultural and, he focused a little bit more on, I guess, the dilemmas of everyday people in his earlier films, I would say. Yeah.
And also, I think his earlier films were, I don't know, I would say compared to his recent ones, like more experimental, if anything. Like, let's see what I can get away with. You know?
Yeah, well, he was willing to take risks back then, and now I'll just play it safe.
Let's make an anime movie, guys. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll make 5 of them this year. All right, so my next one. So my last honorable mention is Tokyo Godfathers.
Ah, nice.
I really like Satoshi Kon. Paranoia Agent is his masterpiece for me, but I can't talk about that because that's a TV series. Tokyo Godfathers is a really well-made anime. It tells the story of these 3 people from different walks of life that find this baby, and it's based on an American story. That was an old John Wayne movie called Three Godfathers, and then there was I think there's like 3 or 4 US films, like US cowboy films that were made based on this story, and then that's why I don't rate this one highly when it comes to his work, because it is just a retelling of a story we've seen many times. He just puts the Japanese spin on it. But it's definitely worth watching because his animation style is incredible. Ray, thoughts on Tokyo Godfathers?
I love Tokyo Godfathers. Actually, I think all of Satoshi Kon's movies, it's really hard for me to put him on a ranking, but I really enjoy the way he draws his characters, or the way his characters are depicted. What I like about Tokyo Godfathers, it takes that formula. I think there are probably even more than just cowboy movies that use the concept, but like 3 Men and a Baby, remember that back in the day? Mm. I think it's the same exact story, but I feel with Tokyo Godfathers, I like the kind of the narrative he spun on it, where it was like these 3 outcasts from society. And you got to really go into their past, and he really does a good job with making you sympathize with each of the characters. And that's what I really liked about Tokyo Godfathers.
Totally. Eric?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this one, unfortunately.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah, this is one of my least favorite of his. I think my biggest problem with it was the humor.
Hmm.
I don't know, it just didn't really work for me. seemed very like Americanized with the humor there. So that's really kind of what got me there.
Maybe it's the Three Men and a Baby influence. Who knows? Maybe he really likes Steve Guttenberg and Tom Selleck. Ted Danson. You know how much Ted Danson makes? Sorry, that was a Seinfeld reference. All right. So, Ray, your last one for mention.
My last honorable mention is 5 centimeters per second, directed by Makoto Shinkai. And I think this was the first Makoto Shinkai movie I've seen. This was my intro to him, and I think it was probably like the best intro to dive into any of his work because it's a short movie. It's only like an hour long. But what I liked about this movie is that each frame was very picturesque. You can pretty much take any frame and you can frame it as an artwork. I mean, I think the story maybe, if I were to watch 5 centimeters per second for the first time today, I probably wouldn't feel anything for the story because it's about young love, back in high school. But I think when I watched it, I was more keen for those kinds of stories. So that's why it's one of those movies that just stuck with me.
Cool. Eric, have you seen this?
Yeah, it's one of my favorites from this director. I think the animation quality was really good. And I really like the monologue and the dialogue and how that worked out between the characters, too. It's a very, very easy sit and very highly entertaining.
Are you guys getting that echo? Is it just me?
I don't hear an echo.
I hear a little bit. Everybody is right now, I think.
Yeah, everyone.
That sounds fine from my side.
Just give me a second. I'll just check. Test. Unmute. Does that work? Is that better? No. Oh no. All right. Where's it coming from?
Hope it's not me.
Potentially. Do you guys just want to mute your mics or unplug them and plug them back in and see what happens?
Sure. All right.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
I think that's better now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's gone. All right, cool. All right. Yeah. Ray, are you good?
Yeah. Oh, I also like to add it with...
it's gone now. I think it was just a matter of, I don't know, just Google Hangouts being Google Hangouts.
For sure. One thing I want to add about 5 centimeters per second is that it takes place in real-world Tokyo, so you can actually revisit those places that were depicted in the movie, which is quite nice. I passed through the station that the main character passes through, like, to work every day.
Oh. Does it look the same?
Oh, it doesn't have the nice colors, but the nice lighting that Shinkai puts on his movies. But yeah, for the most part, it's the same.
Cool. All right, let's move on. Eric, yours.
Last honorable mention, I think, here we're on.
Yep.
So this is, I don't know, it might be a little low, but I'm going with Tokyo Sonata from 2008. It's a drama from Kiyoshi Kurosawa. This one stars Teruyuki Kagawa, who also was in Creepy, and Kyoko Koizumi, who was in Penance, which is another Kurosawa project. So this is about a guy who loses his job, but he wants to conceal his unemployment from his family. So he kind of roams the streets and stuff. But his own family also has like their own problems they're dealing with. Movie, I think, really taps into the dilemmas of the modern family. You got like dysfunctional relationships. You got breakdowns of communication between the family members and different pressures from society. And I think this happens in real life quite a bit. I'm not sure. I think I've heard stories of guys who lose their jobs and they will just go out and just spend the day walking around just because they don't feel like telling their wife yet. Eventually when the checks stop coming in, she's going to find out. But so I found it pretty interesting. And it's one of those Japanese films I think a lot of international audiences could really get into and relate to. So yeah, solid film.
It's on my list. So
it's not on my list, but I really enjoyed Tokyo Sonata. I remember watching it, and I just couldn't look away. It was really gripping. I like just the way the characters, and you can really sympathize with all their problems and all their struggles.
Cool. All right, so let's get into the top 20. Starting with me, number 20. I'm going with something really silly. Gamera the Brave. I really like the Gamera movies from the 90s, the ones with Steven Seagal's daughter, of all people.
Huh.
I love those, and I love Godzilla. I love the giant monster movies. I would watch them until the cows come home. And Gamera the Brave was a cute kids movie, and I liked it. It's not as good as the 90s ones. It's a bit like the 90s ones were a bit scarier, I think, with the creature designs and stuff. This one is aiming for a much more child-friendly film, I would say, with the cute little baby turtle and all that stuff. But I liked it. So, guys, Gamera the Brave.
I enjoyed it. Like, I remember, I think they were trying to do a reboot of sorts, like with the Gamera series. I can't remember if they continued beyond Gamera the Brave, though.
No, that's the last Gamera film.
Was it? Okay, yeah. I think overall, like, the interest for Gamera kind of just like dwindled away. Nobody talks about Gamera anymore. They remember him, but no one talks about him the same way as they do with the current giant monster or superhero movies. But yeah, that was an enjoyable one. I remember it.
Cool. Eric?
I enjoyed it. It was good. I agree. It's not quite as good as those 90s flicks, but it's got its own merits. It's fun to watch. It's a good family film. And there's just, the character design of that monster is just great, man. I really like it.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. All right, Ray.
My number 20 is Giant Monster Movie 2, Godzilla Final Wars. This was the last movie before they went into a 12-year hiatus when they finally came back with Shin Godzilla. And for me, what made this movie was the nostalgia. It included a lot of old characters from his movies like the 70s, in the 60s, and they kind of redid the suits. They made them look new and fresh, and they focused a lot. They had a really interesting story with the humans going on too, and usually the humans are just there to kind of follow Godzilla as he rampages on, but they actually made the humans quite important in this story, and it was fun to watch. You had what's his name, Victor Fry? Is that his name? The MMA fighter, like just doing grunts and like punching things, and it was fun. It was fun. A whole lot of like. All right.
We might kill two birds with one stone here, because this is my number 19.
Wow.
Godzilla Final Wars is number 19 on my list. My issue with Godzilla Final Wars is it does the thing I really love, but I also really hate. They take the piss out of Zilla in this movie. Isn't that this one where Zilla dies?
Zilla?
The Godzilla? Yeah.
Yeah, where he just dies like on top of the Sydney Opera House.
Yeah, it happens in Australia. What the hell did we do? We didn't create Zilla. That was the American. So, you have Zilla, which, the American Godzilla is awful. Well, the 98 one's awful. And they have Zilla in Final Wars, and the real Godzilla fights him in Sydney, and then he destroys the Sydney Opera House. So what did we do? We didn't do anything.
So they always need landmarks to destroy.
I know, but they could have done it. They should have set that in New York or something.
Yeah, they should have, actually.
But, Anyway, Eric, your thoughts on Godzilla Final Wars?
I think it has its merits. This was at the time where I was a huge Ryohei Kitamura fan, and he directed this. And after I saw Azumi, I was watching everything he did. This one, it's got its merits. I think it almost makes the same. It's almost reminding me of Destroy All Monsters in that you have a lot of monsters, but the one disadvantage is that each of the monsters a lot of times only has a little bit of time on screen, which is the only kind of problem I had with it. But the special effects were good, very good. And it was, it's got moves quickly and there's a lot of destruction.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So your number 20.
I think it's my 20, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to go with Survive Style 5 Plus, 2004 comedy. This has got Tadanobu Asano, Reika Hashimoto, and Kyoko Koizumi again. And this film, it almost is like an anthology, but it's not structured that way. You basically just have 5 stories and keeps bouncing between them all. My favorite being the story of the guy who continues to murder his wife over and over again, but she keeps showing up at home waiting for him. That was a great story. A lot of laugh out loud moments in this. I think the fact that it has 5 different storylines gives it a lot of variety and opportunity for creativity. But there's also, I think, some substance here too, especially down the stretch. It has certain themes that it explores a little bit. And a few of the scenes down the stretch were a little bit, they had some dramatic effectiveness to it, some meat to it. So, yeah, I really like this. And some of the set designs are really good, too. So I recommend it.
You just liked it because Vinnie Jones was in it.
Yeah. What's your purpose in life?
Ray, your thoughts?
I have never seen this movie. Can you tell me the name one more time?
Survive Style 5.
Survive Style 5. This is my first time hearing about it, but I want to watch it now.
Do you know the English footballer turned actor Vinnie Jones?
Yeah, the
from
Juggernaut,
Snatch and Lock, Stock? Yeah, he's in it.
Yeah. That's so hilarious. I need you said Vinnie Jones. I was like, I gotta to check it out.
There you go, Corey. Some guy sees Vinnie Jones on a DVD. He's gonna watch it, baby.
I know. That was you. All right, so we're up to number 19. So we've already spoken about my 19, which is Godzilla Final Wars. So what's your 19, Ray?
My number 19 is the Beat Takeshi version of Zatoichi. What I like about this is that it takes a character, it takes a genre, but it kind of like makes it, kind of changes it up by making kind of goofy and kind of fun. Like there's a whole lot of stomp-esque musical numbers that happen along the way. Plus you get like a lot of cool swashbuckling you would expect from a samurai flick. But going back in it, like the CG is kind of outdated. I recently rewatched it.
It's
my memory.
Very outdated.
I rewatched it again just to jog my memory. I was like, wow, was the CG this bad?
It looks like Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Right? Yeah. But I mean, I remember having a lot of fun with it because it was just really different. And I like Beat Takeshi. So, yeah.
Yeah, I remember really loving this movie when it came out, but I did that thing when I reviewed it probably like 2 years ago now, I don't know. And I watched it again and I was like, oh my God. It was very, I got a George Lucas vibe from him. It's like, look, I've got some toys to play with. They're called CG artists and everything is just CG. Like when somebody gets stabbed and the sword goes through them and then you've got it looks like a cartoon.
It does, yeah.
Coming out, and it's like, the problem is it looked good in like 2000 or whenever it came out, but it doesn't age well. The movie itself and the story is fine, but the special effects really let it down. If it was just practical effects, it would hold up really well. Eric, your thoughts on Zatoichi?
I enjoyed it. I agree with both of you, though. I actually rewatched this one a few months ago myself, and I realized that it didn't quite hold up quite as well as it used to, but it's still a good flick, and it's fun to watch for sure.
Cool. All right, what's your number 19?
Okay, I have a movie here called Shinku, also known as Deep Red, from 2005. This is a drama. Director's not big. The actors aren't big. This is about a man who murders a family. He's convicted of the crime. Now, the surviving daughter of that family, who was like away on a school trip at the time of the murders, years later, when she becomes a little bit older, she seeks out the daughter of the murderer, and she befriends her without telling her identity. So it's a really interesting kind of coming of age film, because both of these girls are actually experiencing some hardships based on that event. Very interesting, a lot of unorthodox interaction. There's kind of like an odd friction between them too that comes into play. And there's some really good dialogue here, and it doesn't play out quite like you think it will. It's really good stuff, so I recommend this.
I haven't seen it, but it sounds fantastic. Ray?
Likewise, I haven't seen it either.
It's one of those. Add it to the list of films that Eric has seen that nobody else has seen.
What are we at
good.
right now? 2? Are we at 2 film movies right now?
We've hit 2 so far today, yeah. I don't know the overall total from every time we've done a podcast, but maybe somebody will add them up one day.
That's a good tally.
No, it's a good thing because Eric brings stuff that nobody has heard of before, and it makes me want to watch them. All right, my number 18. Sorry to repeat myself, but it's another Satoshi Kon film. It's Millennium Actress. If you haven't seen Millennium Actress, you need to watch it. If you haven't seen any of his films, sadly, he died how many years ago now? It must be almost 10 years. Or is it less than that?
Can't exactly
8
remember.
years?
Well, Paprika was 2006.
Yeah, I think it was. Well, that was his last one, wasn't it?
It was.
I'm not sure.
I think Paprika was his last one.
I'm pretty sure he died of. It was cancer, wasn't it? Was it cancer?
I think so.
And he died quite young, like in the big
I think it's
scheme
early
of things.
40s.
Yeah. And those of you who don't know who he is, he's the Perfect Blue guy. That's probably his most famous film. And unfortunately, Perfect Blue's not in this list because I think it was 98. Was it 98 or 96?
I think
Or
so.
99. 98 or 99, so before 2000.
Yeah. So he's the guy that is responsible for Darren Aronofsky's Black Swan. You can thank him for that movie, which is pretty much a rehash of Perfect Blue. But Millennium Actress, just go watch it. It's a beautiful film. His animation style, his storytelling ability, everything about this guy is so good. And every single film he ever made was completely different. He'll make, a heartfelt movie. He made, you got Tokyo Godfathers, which has the comedy elements. You have Perfect Blue, which is a almost perfect psychological thriller. You've got the animated series that he made, Paranoia Agent. That is a complete mind fuck at stages. Any of his work is awesome. So, Ray, Millennium Actress?
It's much higher on my list.
Okay, cool. Eric?
Yeah, I enjoyed this one. It's pretty solid stuff. Very interesting storytelling structure, too. Probably best not to get too detailed into it. So, yeah, definitely check out all of this guy's films.
Yeah. Sadly, he left us too soon. It's one of those. But at least everything he made was solid. So, yeah, it's good. All right. Ray, number 18.
My number 18, it's a drama. Romantic drama by the name of Crying Out Love in the Center of the World, directed by Yukisada Isao. It takes place in 2 time periods. The modern day main character, he's about to get married, but then his fiance discovers kind of a relic of their past together, and then she kind of runs away to their hometown, and he follows pursuit. And then as he goes about his hometown trying to look for his fiance, he remembers his first love in high school, and it just goes down. He just goes down memory lane and rediscovers his feelings for his first love. But the thing is that his first love is she had passed while they were in high school, and I remember this movie. According to my wife, when it first came out, it was really huge, and it was a movie that made both Moriyama Mirai and Nagasawa Masami really, what's the word? Big names, I guess. Like you see them a lot in movies nowadays, but I think this was probably their big starting point.
I have not seen this. Eric?
I saw it a long time ago, and I remember really enjoying it. I remember it really goes for the jugular in terms of extracting emotion from the viewer, and it did for me at the time. So I would be really interested in giving this one a second watch to see if it holds up after all those years. But I remember being very impressed with Masami Nagasawa and her performance in this movie. It was one of the first films I saw with her in it. And then I became somewhat obsessed and watched a lot of her other stuff. So yeah, I definitely recommend this one.
Cool. All right. Your next pick.
I'm going with Eureka from 2000. This is a drama directed by Shinji Aoyama. And it stars Koji Yakusho and Aoi Miyazaki. So this is about there's an event early on regarding a violent bus hijacking. And then after that, you got a man, a girl, and her brother try to straighten out their lives to heal their emotional wounds from this event. It's a long movie. It's over 3 hours long, but it engages you very early on with this long sequence. And then it has a lot of good, I would say, dilemmas and character depth to it. Great performances, which is no surprise. Also, the style here is kind of a little bit on the artsy side. There's a lot of long takes with minimal editing, but I think it works. And then it has a sepia tone cinematography that looks really good too. So I think, when going into this movie, I heard it was acclaimed, and I was like, man, is this thing really going to be able to hold my interest for its whole runtime? And it did. It's a good flick, and I think it's this director's best film, I think.
I have not seen Eureka. Right?
I have seen Eureka, but I went through a phase where I was obsessed with Miyazaki Aoi. Ever since watching her in Nana, I thought she was just the cutest thing, and that's what led me to watch Eureka. And she did a lot of art house films earlier in her career, Eureka included, and there was also how do you pronounce it? Synesthesia, and
Harmful Insect.
Harmful Insect. There was a whole lot of art house films, and this was one of them. I think at the time I couldn't really appreciate art house films, so I couldn't understand the movie, I think. At least that generation of her movies. I think at the time I preferred her more cutesy popcorn films that she kind of released more in the late 2000s, early 2010s. But yeah, I do remember seeing it, but I don't remember understanding it.
Okay, cool. All right, so we are up to number 17. Okay, so this is where Sion Sono comes in.
Ooh.
The master himself. Strange Circus is my pick for number 17. It's a very odd movie, which is what you could say about almost all of his films.
Oh, yeah.
Strange Circus involves some content that is not family friendly. That's the best way I can put it. It involves incest, rape, anything you can imagine, I think, is in this movie. Hey, we have another cat.
She decided to join us.
See, Eric, you have a cat, Eric.
No.
See, if you want to join the Cool Kids Club, you need to get yourself a cat, my friend.
I have a stuffed sheep. You want me to get my stuffed sheep? I can do that at the first break.
Oh, what's your cat's name?
Her name is Shira Tama, or you can just call her Tama.
Tama. Oh, well, Lenny can't interact right now. He's passed out.
Okay. She's gonna go around my laptop right now on my table. I gotta move stuff so she doesn't knock anything over.
Fair enough. So, Strange Circus is a very odd movie. Yeah, rape, incest, horrible beatings. One of the characters transitions during the film. It's all about getting revenge on a father that may or may not have done some things. It's messed up, but I like it. It's definitely not his best film, but it's one of those movies I find myself remembering, and I'm like, oh, it's that movie. So yeah, Strange Circus. Ray, thoughts?
I haven't seen Strange Circus, but I'm always down for a Sonosion movie.
Yeah. Eric?
Higher on my list.
Oh, well, there we go. All right, Ray, your turn.
My number 17 is a Sang-il Lee drama by the name of Hula Girls. What's the name? Director Sang-il Lee also did Villain and Rage. And I got the first movie I've seen of his was Hula Girls. And the main reason I initially watched Hula Girls back then is because I was a huge fan of the musician who composed the soundtrack, Jake Shimabukuro. He's a ukulele player from Hawaii, and seeing his music depicted in a movie, I was like, yeah, sure, I'll check it out. But I was introduced also to Aoi through this movie. Was it this movie? It was one of the earlier movies I've seen Aoi that I can remember at least. But it's supposedly based on a true story, and you can actually visit the spa resort, which the movie depicted its origins. So you can still visit it today. Still going strong.
Cool. I have not seen this. Eric?
Yeah, it was a good one. I remember back in the day when I was just getting into Asian cinema, a few years after that, this was pretty big, this one. It seemed to be, when I was looking on DVD sites and stuff, I'd see it advertised a lot. And so I was like, well, I better watch it. And it was good. It was good, a little different. And, it's a nice little, had some good comedy in it. So, yeah, I don't mind it being on your list.
So was there a reason it was big in the States, do you think?
I think it was big in its home country. If I could be wrong, though. What do you think, Ray? Was it big? Do you think, were you paying attention or?
Oh, I don't know about at the time, but I just know that the story, like, people will know what you're talking about when you say Hula Girls, because the story is about a struggling town, and they're trying to find a way to attract tourists to make the local economy boom again, and they decide to do that by hiring a hula dance coach, teach the girls how to dance, and then jumpstart their local hot springs, and that evolved into a spa resort of all times. But that spa resort, pretty much, I think everyone I've spoken to knows about the spa resort. So, and they know it. They know it's synonymous with the movie Hula Girls.
Cool. All right, Eric.
All right. Sorry, I had to include a movie with my boy. This is my boy. I'm going with Kisarazu Cat's Eye 1 and 2. This is comedies again. I got a lot of comedies on my list. These are two movies, one from 2003, one from 2006. Stars Junichi Okada, one of my favorite Japanese actors. I like him. He's a very charismatic guy, very good comedic timing, and he's actually a pretty good action hero too. So this one's, I think this is a theatrical spinoff to a to a TV series, and he finds out he has 6 months left to live, so he just wants to have as much fun with his friends as humanly possible. And these two films are really funny. They're like two of my favorite Japanese comedies. The reason why I like them so much is because the style of humor is a little bit different. It's very like quirky and sharp, so you have to pay attention to it. Because they'll show you something that might not make a whole lot of sense at first, and then there'll be a delay. They'll give you some information, and you put two and two together and start laughing about it. So it's really, really creative stuff. I appreciated the intelligence behind the humor. And the second film adds Chiaki Kuriyama into the mix and zombies. So, yeah, I recommend these.
Okay. Haven't seen them, right?
Make that a third movie that we have.
Well, two movies.
Yeah, 4, then 3 and 4. Yeah.
Oh, no.
That's all right. Okay, cool. So we're up to number 16. My pick for number 16, I don't know if it counts as a theatrical film, because I think with theatrical releases they have to be a certain length, but it did get a theatrical release in Australia, so for me it counts. That's Blood the Last Vampire. The 40-minute, roughly 40, 45-minute animated. I don't know if it's like can it technically be a short or a feature at 45 minutes? I don't know.
I think it was marketed to be a movie. Yeah, it's okay with me.
Yeah, I remember it. I remember it being released in the cinema here, but I didn't see it at the cinema when it came out. I saw it on DVD because that was one of those movies that kind of had a big boom behind it, and everybody kind of went, "Wow, what's this new Japanese animated thing?" And I remember buying the DVD back in like what was it, like 2001 or something, or 2002, like early 2000s. And I remember watching it, and I was at home, and I was sitting at home, and this is when I still live with my parents. Many years ago, I was watching it, and I don't have a very strong relationship with my father because we have nothing in common. And my father, I think it was one of those moments where he's like, I should probably try and have some kind of connection here with my son. So he sat down and he watched the entire thing with me. He didn't say anything the entire time other than, "What are you watching?" I'm like, "Oh, it's a Japanese thing, Dad. You probably won't like it." And he's like, "Oh, I'll watch it." And then at the end, he just looked at me and went, "Well, that was pretty good, son." And then that was it. That was like my moment of bonding with my father. Blood the Last Vampire, of all things. The live action film is atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. And there's a TV series called after this, but I haven't seen the TV series. I've only seen the original animated film. But it's basically it's set in this kind of American military base, and there's this young Japanese girl who happens to be like this vampire slayer, and it's really short, it's really consistent. The pacing's good, the animation's good. I really enjoy it. I have fond memories of this film. If you want to, I think you can call it a film. So yeah, Ray, Blood the Last Vampire for you.
Enjoyed it. I remember enjoying the animation style, although I remember enjoying the TV series a lot more. Blood Plus. I think they're not connected. I think they just share the concept and two of the main characters, but I think the story is separate. So you can enjoy each of those for as they are. But yeah, I remember. Oh yeah, and I agree. The live action was really bad. It starred like one of my favorite Korean actresses at the time. So that's the one that really got me to watch it, but it didn't deliver at all.
No, Eric.
Yeah, so all right, let's go down the line here. So you got that remake there with Ji Hoon Jun, I think was the lead actress, and that was, yeah, I agree, that was not good. I have not seen the TV series, but I did see the movie, and it was very like stylish and just purely entertaining for its runtime. You know what I mean? It doesn't mess around. That's what's good about it. And then Corey, have you ever seen the Hellsing Ultimate movies from recent years?
Yes, I watched, because I originally watched the original series of Hellsing, and then somebody told me that these things existed, the Hellsing ones, and parts of I like parts of it, like, because there's like 4 of them, right? Am I wrong?
There was 10, I think.
There were 10. I don't know. Maybe it was released different. Oh no, sorry. There were four volumes released.
Oh right. You're right.
Yeah, I think there were. Bless you again.
Oh, thank you. Sorry.
You're right.
I thought it was coming on mic.
That's fine. Don't worry. Yeah, I think there were four volumes, and each volume had maybe 2 or 3 episodes on it. And yeah, one of my friends lent them to me, and I watched them. And I don't know, I liked some things about them. I didn't like the other things. Why do you bring? Is it from the same director or something? Or
no, I was just assuming that you might like them if you hadn't seen them, so that's why I asked.
I'm on the fence with it. I watched it and I remember enjoying some episodes and then not enjoying others.
Okay.
Yeah, but overall, it was okay. So, yeah. All right, next one for you, Ray.
My number
16.
My number 16 is Ju-on the Grudge, directed by Shimizu Takashi. This one was the one that set the standard for J-horror movies for me. And The Ring had come out earlier, but I wasn't freaked out by The Ring. I was freaked out by The Grudge. And I think, I think everything that came after this in the series, there were one sequel and a whole lot of spin-offs, and they all didn't make sense. And then they came out with Sadako versus Kayako, which I thought was stupid fun. But yeah, The Grudge, like, it freaked me out because you had the trope where you had the ghost girl with the hair draped over her face, but this one kind of turned up a notch a bit with her crawling up the stairs, a little throat rattle, and yeah, it just creeped me the hell out when I first watched it.
Yeah, this is my favorite Sarah Michelle Gellar film. I'm joking. I'm joking. It's actually Scooby-Doo Monsters Unleashed.
Oh, he's not really a ghost, you're really the housekeeper.
I like The Grudge. I almost put it on my list because it is one of those Japanese movies that scared the bejesus out of me. I remember watching it late at night with the lights off, and that wasn't a good idea. So, Eric, is it on your list?
No, it's not. But it probably could have been. I actually really like this franchise overall. I definitely prefer it to the Ring franchise. I think there's like 4 movies in the Ju-on franchise that I really like. Yeah, this one was solid, man. Really, really good stuff. So yeah, I don't mind you having it on your list. Good movie.
Cool. All right, what's your next one? Number 16.
I'm going to go with Sway from 2006. This is a drama thriller. It's directed by Miwa Nishikawa, who directed Dreams for Sale and The Long Excuse. I recently saw The Long Excuse, and it would have made my top Japanese list of the 2010s had I seen it in time. So I like this director a lot. And you got Joe Odagiri again, and then Teruyuki Kagawa again. So this one is about, it's like a psychological drama about these 2 brothers and how a certain event, an unfortunate event, kind of affects their relationship. And again, it's one of those films you got to pay attention to the details because it's very subtle and delicate in how it communicates things. Even like the more intense type stuff is very subtle. I like its style, and the soundtrack were really good too. Just a high quality film all around. And if anybody out there is not familiar with this director, I recommend just about everything she's done.
I have not seen it. Sorry.
Make that a 5th movie. I mean, it's a shame because I've seen Long Excuse. I've seen some of the director's other movies, but I haven't seen this one.
Cool. Eric, anything else you want to add for that one? Considering we both have nothing to say because we haven't seen it.
No, not really. It's one you don't want to talk too much about.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, my next pick is a Japanese film that won. I'm just trying to bring it up here because I think it won an Oscar for Best Foreign Film. I think it did, yeah. Departures?
Yes.
About a musician who takes a job preparing the dead for funerals. And is this one of the only Japanese films that has won Best Foreign Film at the Oscars?
They won a few in the 50s, I think.
Yeah, but I mean like this era or modern era. I can't remember the last one that was even
Confessions, I think, made the short list but didn't get nominated. But yeah, you're right.
An absolute joke.
Yeah.
But Departures are really, if you like music, then it's worth checking out. And also, it's just beautifully shot. It's absolutely exquisite to look at. Beautiful movie. and it deserved the Academy Award. The problem I have with the Oscars every year is that they just, I don't know. I think people think of the Oscars too highly to begin with. It's good for the exposure for foreign films, but every year we kind of the movies that they put forward are never the right choice. Like last year, it was for Korea. It was the Age of Shadows. You're right. It was like the Age of Shadows, wasn't it? That was the one that they put forward. When realistically, they probably should have put forward The Handmaiden, even though I didn't like The Handmaiden as much as most people. If you look,
or The Wailing.
Well, yeah.
or another one is This World of Ours, that kid flick that I was bringing up in the last Korean video. This World of Ours, I think it was called. That's right up the Oscar alley.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's just weird. Departures, I can see why that does have. I don't know. I think what the Oscars do. I know we're getting into Oscars talk here, but it's on topic. The Oscars kind of do this thing where they decide each year, like, which kind of country they're going to like give it to. I think it's more like let's have Australian year and we'll give an Australian an Oscar, and this year we better give this country this Oscar. It's more like that. It's like, who haven't we given one to yet, rather than the quality of the films. That's how I feel about it. But does any
of these people actually sit down and watch all like 200 films that are submitted from these 200 different countries? I seriously doubt anybody watches all of them to get down to like the bottom 5, you know?
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure I saw an interview. I could be wrong. I just want to say this. I could be wrong. But I think it was Meatloaf. So Meatloaf, as in the American singer, like the rock star Meatloaf, he is part of the Oscars. He gets to vote every year in the Oscars. Okay. But I'm not 100% sure how it works. I think if you win one, then you get to vote every year. And I think there are also a select group of people from the entertainment industry in the United States that get to pick. And I'm pretty sure it's Meatloaf was one of the people, and he said that he just gets friends to watch movies and things, because there's so many movies and they don't get to watch them all. So they just they give some of the screeners to their friends or family, and then they ask their opinion. What do you think about this? That's why it's like, I think Meryl Streep's a great actress, but every year Meryl Streep gets nominated because it's just like, well, we're all old white men and that's the only actress we know, so we better give it to Meryl again. I don't know. I think the Oscars are a bit of a joke.
That's one video we got to do, Corey. We got to do, because if you don't want to do it, I'll do it. But we got to go through, like, do one video where we look at all the South Korean submissions. And if we don't agree with it, pick a movie that you would have submitted instead.
Oh, that's a great idea.
And then do the Japanese
Japanese ones as well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we should make them like our next. Well, maybe for the Oscar, around the Oscars next year, coming up to like Oscar season or something. Yeah, that's a really good idea. All right. So, guys, departures. I went on a rant. Sorry. It's what I do.
It's higher on my list, so I'll talk about it then.
Okay.
Yeah, this was one that was hard to exclude. It's an excellent movie. I'm a big fan of that lead actor too, and his name escapes me. It's Motoki something, but he's been in every time he shows up. He was in The Long Excuse, and he was phenomenal in that movie. So anytime he shows up, he's good.
Yeah, it's Motoki Masahiro.
Yeah,
like that. Yeah, he's a great actor. Cool. All right, Ray, your next one.
My next one, my number 15. Is it 15?
Yeah. Yes, it's 15, yeah.
15 is a 2006 movie by the name of Udon. And this is a movie that will make you hungry even if you have already eaten. What udon is, you guys know, or you guys are familiar with the food udon, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so it's a noodle dish, and there's a certain prefecture, Kagawa Prefecture, that prides himself as having the best udon in the country. And this story takes place there. And it's about a boy who comes back to this hometown, which is in Kagawa Prefecture, I believe. And basically all his money that he left home with is gone, so he comes back home, and he is met with his family who runs an udon shop. And it's kind of a story of him deciding to take up the family business and become an udon chef. And it kind of like, at the same time, it depicted this kind of boom in udon culture in Japan, where people were traveling around to different small udon shops here and there throughout the prefecture on like an udon pilgrimage. And we just see all the different types of udon that are depicted. It just makes you hungry. So, udon.
Cool. All right, can you guys just keep talking? Eric, you
No
can
problem.
talk about this and then talk about your next pick. I need to go to the bathroom, and it's starting to rain here and get really overcast, so I might go get my light that I use when I film my reviews, just so I've got some better light out here. I'll be back in
Sounds
like
good.
2 minutes.
All right. Let's roll with this, Ray. Let's do
Yeah.
this. The viewers won't even want Corey back.
But
He
have you
doesn't
seen
we can say whatever we want now because he doesn't rewatch these things. So if you got anything bad to say. All right, so udon, yeah, I seek out any South Korean or Japanese food or TV series that's based on food because I love food-based stuff.
Mhm.
This one was good. One of the lead actresses in this actually appeared again in Retribution, and she's really cute. She was like strikingly cute. I remember that much. But yeah, the film was solid. I remember vividly the different little udon like restaurants and different styles and stuff, and I found it to be a pretty interesting film. So yeah, it was a good one. And then
Eric, has there ever been a film that inspired you to go out? Like, I know you've been to Japan a few times, but has any movie inspired you to seek out a particular type of food when you come to Japan?
oh yeah, definitely. I would say I'm trying to think of a specific. I think sea urchin I saw in a particular. I forgot what movie or what thing it was featured or something in a scene. I was like, ooh, I'll have to try that. There was anything that involves like the street foods, like obviously mochi was like big in something, so I had to try that. So yeah, it has happened. The beef too, obviously, but yeah. So my number 15 film here is Ichi the Killer.
Ooh.
From 2001. It's a Miike film starring Tadanobu Asano. So obviously a Yakuza boss disappears, his money stolen, and then his one of his henchmen wants to figure out what happened here for reasons you might not expect if you haven't seen this one. But the big themes in this movie are kind of like sadism and masochism, and the characters fall in line with those usually, or both. And it's really an interesting kind of exploration of those themes. I think most people remember this movie for its graphic violence, but I think it has some really interesting characters to it. And I think the violence, even some of the fans of this movie pay more attention to the violence than they do to the character development, which I think is kind of, sad, but very interesting film. A lot of character motivations to seek out. Again, Shinya Tsukamoto, again, has a really memorable role in this. I loved him in this. And, I have to mention it. Because I've been covering Miike a lot on my channel. And my subscribers will be angry with me if I don't say it. But I do enjoy some of his recent films as well. So, I'm kind of on my island there. So, yes, I do recommend Ichi the Killer.
Yeah,
Oh, nice. You're talking about Ichi the Killer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I just got to check if that's on my list. I don't think it is. No, it's one of those movies I thought about putting on my list, but I didn't.
It's a movie where I've never actually finished it. Like, when I first watched it, well, it was first started to watch it when I was still getting into Japanese movies, and like my friend had lent me the DVD, so I was like, "You should check out Ichi the Killer." I'm like, "All right, let's check it out." I think I can stand some violence, and I think the very first kill in the movie, I kind of was like, I was I was like, what am I getting into? So I kind of just fast forwarded a little bit, right? I just kind of fast forwarded, and then I stopped at a scene where somebody was hung with what was it? It was like bits of his skin were being pulled apart. I was like, all right, I am not watching this movie. But I mean, given the amount of movies I've seen since then, I think I can actually go back to Ichi the Killer and not have a problem. But I think it just freaked me out so much in the beginning. I just never attempted to rewatch it.
You didn't like the guy jerking off in the bushes?
I don't think I made it that far.
The amazing opening. No, that's the opening scene.
Was it? I can't remember. I just remember a guy I just remember the first kill, and I was like, okay, what am I getting myself into?
There is that scene, right, where the guy's jerking off. Isn't that the opening?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's jerking off, and his man juices fall to the ground. And it's...
Maybe the kill stuck more into my memory than that, because I think I might have had it in the background, just kind of looking back for it for what I was doing, and then the first kill happened, and I was like, okay, it got my attention, and I was like, what's going on here? But yeah,
yeah, the DVD I have of that, when I was going through my DVD collection the other day, it has an English dub on it, and that's the first dub so when you put the DVD in the DVD player and you press play, it's actually the English dub, so you have to go into the menu and change it to Japanese. And the first time I ever watched it, it was on that DVD, and it was like these weird British accents, and I was like, what the fuck is going on here? But if you really want to have a good time, then get a hold of the Australian or British, probably. It's probably just a rip-off of the British DVD. Watch it with the English dub. It's actually quite funny seeing like British accents coming out of people. But yeah, Ichi the Killer, it's one of Miike's better films, that's for sure. It's not on my list, but I did contemplate putting it on it. All right, so we're up to number 14?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Once we get through my list, and you guys have probably like worked this out by now, but I really, back in the day, back in this period, the early 2000s to late 2000s, I was really into anime. So that's why there's like 8 anime films on my list. The next one is Howl's Moving Castle. I still remember seeing Howl's Moving Castle at the cinema. I didn't see the Japanese version. It was actually the US dub. And when I say US, I mean it had mainstream actors in it. It was one of Christian Bale did the voice, I think. Not that he's Welsh, but he's in it. So I only saw the original Japanese dub when it came out on DVD and Blu-ray, and I always prefer to watch the Japanese dubs. I don't think they're always superior, but I do like them, and I don't dislike the US dubs of them. I think the Ghibli films, when they're released for the international market, it's through Disney, isn't it? Or it used to be through Disney. And they actually took a lot of time and care, because I'm pretty sure, is it Brad Bird, the guy that created Pixar and all that? Is he the guy that created Pixar? Or is he the Simpsons guy, or is he both? I forget.
Brad Bird is the Incredibles guy. But
yeah. I'm pretty sure he had something to do with it. Like, we need to respect these movies and actually give them. So that's why I think you can watch the English dubs of those movies and they're not offensive at all. But I do prefer the Japanese dubs. But yeah, I'm sure most people have seen Howl's Moving Castle. It's a beautiful film. It's based on a book, I believe, like a children's book. So highly recommend it. Howl's Moving Castle. Does it make your list, or not really, or no?
It made my number 14.
Whoa, really? Oh, hey, yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I love Howl's Moving Castle. Like, I thought the design of the castle itself, just design of the world, was very imaginative, and I was just really drawn in from the start. I mean, and the what Studio Ghibli does pretty much in all their movies. Like it works well in this movie and the music is fantastic. Like Hisaishi Joe, who does all the Ghibli movies pretty much, he composes another great score with this one.
Yeah, Eric.
I enjoyed this one, definitely. I remember a few scenes very specifically. I think there was a scene in this that really made me crave eggs and bacon. I think this is the movie where the lady's cooking eggs and bacon on her thing. Yeah, I liked it. A very nice, magical type of film. Very entertaining.
Well, that can be said about any of his films, I think.
There's a few I don't like.
Really? Which ones don't you like?
Princess Mononoke.
What?
Oh
Yeah.
no!
Oh!
Oh no!
Damn.
We'll probably have to butt heads at some point later in this video, but that's all right. I'll be ready.
Oh,
Really? I don't. That was like the 90s, wasn't it?
It was the 90s.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
It was the
right.
90s,
Okay.
Oh, you're lucky this isn't a 90s list. Wow. All right. What other ones don't you like, Eric? What didn't you like about that film?
I think it was too one-dimensional. Just the humans in that castle area were just completely reprehensible. I didn't think it played both sides like it should have. Like the lead character's like, I don't know what side to go on. I'm like, dude, the choice is obvious. Just kill your own people. But yeah, maybe I'll give it another chance, though. I usually films improve after repeat viewings for me.
All right. Cool. All right. So we both had so it's your turn, Eric.
All right. I'm going to do a movie called Summertime Machine Blues from 2005, another comedy. This was directed by a man called Katsuyuki Motohiro, who directed Space Travelers and the Bayside Shakedown films. And my sweetie Juri Ueno is the lead actress in this. And this is about a sci-fi club at a high school. I think it's a high school. And they find a time machine. So they go back 24 hours in a desperate attempt to steal their air conditioning remote control before they accidentally broke it. So it's another one of those movies you really got to pay attention to the details in this. There's a lot of visual references because they go back and forth in time, and there's certain things that happen, and you got to pay attention to like what's going on in the background. So it's a very detailed comedic film, and I really enjoyed it because you have a time machine and these characters are trying to do some of the most trivial accomplishments ever with it. That's what I really liked about it. A lot of funny moments. I recommend it.
I've seen the Bayside Shakedown. Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen them. I haven't seen this. Is Summertime? There's an actual song called Summertime Blues. I think does it have any like rock music in the soundtrack? Like old school rockabilly? Because I know Brian Setzer or the Stray Cats did a version of Summertime Blues.
Huh.
And I know he's incredibly popular in Japan, so I'm just wondering if there's a connection there.
Ooh,
I could be wrong.
Possibly.
I haven't seen this, but Ray, have you seen it?
I haven't seen it. Number 6.
All right, number 6. All right. Okay, so we're up to number 13.
That's right.
Cool. So my choice for number 13, I'm cheating here. I'm giving you people 2 films. And there's a reason for this. If I had to choose one of these films just for number 13, it would be Noriko's Dinner Table. But I can't include that without having Suicide Club or Suicide Circle, depending on where you're from in the film, because Noriko's Dinner Table is a sequel movie. What's wrong, Eric? You hate this movie?
No, go ahead, baby.
You seem like, ugh, I don't want to talk about this movie. This is another Sono film, and it's about, it's a very long film. It's almost 4 hours long, and there are moments in this that just blew my mind. All of his movies, these 2 films in particular I think they reflect Japanese society at the time quite well. In Noriko's dinner table, there's this girl, and she wants to get away from her horrible family, which is just your typical, I guess, Japanese nuclear family, mum and dad and the two daughters. And she starts going online and looking at some stuff and looking at this website, and then she meets a friend, and they decide to meet in Tokyo, and they meet at one of the big I can't remember which train station it is. And the girl that she meets is very odd, and she has a family which is the exact opposite of the real nuclear family. They're all people that pretend to be a family, and they go to visit elderly people to pretend to be their like granddaughters, and it's really interesting. And then when you look at the real story, this stuff actually happens in Japan. I don't know if it still happens, but at that time it was happening in Japan. People would hire someone to pretend to be a family member, and that's just part of this film, but that really stuck with me, and I liked the social aspects of this film. But you guys, your thought? Have you seen it? It's an epic. Starting with you, Ray.
So I'm experiencing kind of delay. I haven't seen Noriko's Dinner Table, but I have seen Suicide Club. And, admittedly, Suicide Club, I might have checked out at the same time as I did Ichi the Killer. So at first, it freaked me out after the first train scene. And I turned it off, turned the DVD off. But then I actually got the courage to rewatch it again, so much that it's actually a little higher in my list.
Wow.
Okay. Wow. All right. Oh, we're getting another delay again. All right. Let's try the trick that we did last time. And I'm just going to
unplug.
All right.
Yep. I think it's gone. Yes. All right. Yeah, okay. Suicide Club is quite shocking to begin with. So Suicide Club involves, I think was it 52 girls that commit this like ritual suicide together. They jump in front of a train, and then there's this trend that's happening where all these teenage kids are just killing themselves. And that, again, is a reflection on, I think, Japanese society at the time. It's fascinating. Lauren, my friend that has been in a few of my videos, she's a psychologist, and she does social psychology, and she was telling me about hikikomori, that phenomenon, and she was actually planning on trying to do some research into that, because originally it was a Japanese phenomenon, but now it's kind of spreading its wings a little bit. And just all the like ritual suicide stuff that happens in Japan, like strangers meeting on the internet and then committing suicide together, is actually, it's not as rare as you think. And yeah. So Eric, your thoughts on this film and Suicide Club, if it's in your list?
Neither are on my list. Yeah. I knew Noriko's dinner table would show up at some point. I just this one just doesn't really work for me that well. I think I'm there for the first 40 or so minutes. I've seen this movie like 3 times, and after that, it gradually loses me. I think one problem I have is just the constant talking for like 2 hours and 40 minutes. Like, I think Sono could have maybe added a little bit more visual communication, because after a while it just kind of wore me down a little bit. But I do like one of the actresses here. Her name is Yuriko Yoshitaka. She was in a few other movies that I liked her in. And but this one for some reason just didn't really work for me. But Suicide Club, again, I had a problem. I think it thinks it's smarter than it actually is. And the reason why I kind of like that movie, I do kind of like Suicide Club, is because of the horror elements. I almost look at it as like the horror elements are strong enough to get me through it. Whereas Noriko's dinner table is like a pure drama, really. And it didn't really have the genre elements to get me through. So,
Well, that's fine. All right. So, Ray, your choice for number 13.
My number 13 is a 2006 movie by the name of Memories of Matsuko. And it's
Nice.
directed by Nakashima Tetsuya, the director of Confessions, who both you guys said was your number one movie of post 2010 Japanese films. But what I really liked about this movie was just the color presentation of it all. Like everything just seemed very vivid, and everything seemed very lively. And it's basically about this boy who is tasked by a relative to go to his auntie's apartment, who had recently died, and he knows nothing about his aunt. But as he's going through her belongings, he kind of learns more and more about her tragic backstory. And I thought the lead actress was really good, Nakatani Miki. She was very good in the whole story. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it too. It's a very different film to Confessions, that's for sure. Eric?
I liked it. I definitely liked this one. I like the visual style of it. And it has, again, it hits you multiple different emotions in this movie. There's some humor in it that really works, and then there's some tragedy type stuff. So, yeah, this director definitely has a talent for doing all kinds of stuff, and I enjoyed this one.
Cool. All right, your pick for number 13.
Yeah, this one kind of surprised me back in the day. It's called Waiting in the Dark from 2006. It's a drama thriller. It stars Reina Tanaka. This one is about a suspected killer who finds shelter in the home of a blind woman without her knowledge. And it's really, really kind of interesting how they tell the story. There's a lot of flashbacks into what came to this point. And I think it's really kind of a heartfelt film, too, because this blind girl, just recently lost her father, who really took care of a lot of stuff around the house. And now she's got to kind of venture out and try to support herself. And that's really kind of the basis for the film. It's less of a thriller, more of a drama. But I thought it was really interesting. And there is some good suspense at times, too. So I recommend this.
Cool. I have not seen it.
I haven't tried it.
Add that one to the list. They keep coming. All
Number
right.
7.
Just give me a second. I'm just working something out here. I thought I missed one, but I haven't. Okay, cool. I've just got, notes everywhere here. All right, so we're up to number 12. I'm going to make this my 12 and 11 picks, because they're two different movies, but you've got the original film and then the sequel, the follow-up. So this is my 12 and 11. So we have Crow Zero and Crow Zero 2. So Crow Zero I actually like Crow Zero 2 more than Crow Zero. So I'm going Crow Zero for number 12 and Crow Zero 2 for number 11. Miike films that I really, really enjoy. I saw these after the fact, like way after they came out originally. And I picked up the DVDs, I think when I was living in the UK. And I remember watching them and just being like, holy hell, these are awesome. And then when I started doing this channel, I went through a bunch of DVDs that I had, and I watched them again, and I filmed my reviews. And it was around the time of Crows Explode. And Crows Explode is okay. I can't remember what I said in my review, but it was one of the first ones I ever did for the channel. But the Crow Zero films, you really have to put your inner 15-year-old hat on. I think if these movies came out when I was a teenager, they'd be like the greatest movies I'd ever seen. So the movie is about, it's based on a Japanese manga, I think. And it's just this dysfunctional high school or boys' school, and it's just gang after gang after gang, and they all beat the crap out of each other. And then there's rival schools, and the first film is like the new kid in school and a bunch of boys getting together, and it's like gangs within that school. And then the second film opens up the universe a little, and they bring in gangs from other schools. So it's basically it's a very masculine film, I would say. There's a lot of just beating up on each other, Fight Club style, like guys just getting their aggression out by beating the crap out of each other. And I like these films. Ray, thoughts?
None of these movies made my list, but they are a whole lot of fun. You get to see it just punches and bodies flying, and like there are a lot of decently big talent in this movie, like Oguri Shun, Yamada Takayuki. Like, I mean, and they've gotten bigger since then. But I do remember having a whole lot of fun with both these movies. Yeah.
Eric?
Agreed. Yeah, I think the two lead actors really sell these. This is one of the earlier films that I saw from both of them too, and they both stuck with me, and I've been following them since. Another thing I really like is you don't really know who to root for some of the time. You know, you have these different groups out there, and it's not like you got, usually you have the straight line protagonist and the straight antagonist, but they're both kind of protagonists, and I like that aspect to it.
Yeah, they're very good movies. I highly recommend them. Some of the best, like there is that kind of subgenre in, I guess, Asian films, mainly in Japanese movies and Korean movies, because you've got Korean films like Gangster High and Volcano High, with these teenage boys just getting into gangs and beating the crap out of each other. So they're probably my favorites of that subgenre. So for number 12, Ray.
It's actually Suicide Club, so it wasn't that much higher. Yeah, so going back, continue what I was saying earlier, it freaked me out the first time I saw it because of the opening train sequence. And the reason why I started to just rewatch it again, because I just had this sudden interest to watch all these old like horror movies. So I went to the local DVD shop and just rented a whole bunch. And it was one of those movies. And upon watching it, I guess after watching movies like Tokyo Gore Police and Machine Girl, I guess got desensitized to those like kinds of violence. So, but watching it again, I got to really appreciate the things I liked about it. So, I keep wanting to call it Suicide Squad.
Wow. It's definitely better than that movie.
Maybe. Like, I don't know, I'm a big superhero movie fan too, so that keeps rolling off the tongue before Suicide Club. I have to always correct myself when I say it. But yeah, that's my number 12.
All right. Eric?
I said what I wanted to say on that. Do you want me to go to my number 12 then?
Oh, yep. Oh, hang on. We're getting the interference again. It's probably Google Hangouts. I would say. Oh, that's bad. All right, I think we're good now. Oh, no. Something just happened.
What did you hear? Ding?
Yeah, I heard your ding. Was that all right? That's just your phone, right?
That was my...
All right.
That was my SMS going through my phone. Or my computer.
All right, cool. Eric, number 12.
Going with a different Tetsuya Nakashima film. I'm going with Kamikaze Girls, also known as Shimotsuma Monogatari, 2004 comedy. It stars Kyoko Fukada, who was the hot girl in Yatterman, by the way, and Anna Tsuchiya. So, it's a tale of two quirky girls. There's a frilly dressed high school student and her moped gang member friend, and they go on different adventures together. Very wacky comedy, and it's surprisingly charming in its delivery. Films like this sometimes can get really annoying, but this pretty much avoids that. A lot of funny moments. There's some interesting themes and coming of age stuff that's in this too that I really enjoyed. And it's almost like an eye candy film, man. The colors really pop in this one. I really liked his use of color in this. And the outfits, I actually really loved the Lolita style outfits in this movie. Like I've seen some Lolitas in Japan when I visited, but they got to step up their game because they were nothing like the stuff in this movie. So I really enjoyed this one.
Did you go to one of those special clubs? Did you?
No, you could just walk around like Shinsaibashi or somewhere in like Osaka. Sometimes you see them walking around.
I'm just pulling your leg, man.
No, I've never been to like a maid cafe or like a Lolita cafe or whatever.
One of my friends went to a maid cafe.
No.
Yeah, but I think it's one of those things that Ray might be able to, like the kind of like any club like this, it's harder to get in if you're a Westerner and you don't speak Japanese. Like I remember I was in I think it was Shinjuku or somewhere in Tokyo, and I was there late at night. It was like maybe 1 a.m. or midnight, and I was just walking along, and I saw like the girls dressed in their maid things, and they're all handing out the pamphlets, and then they had the guys on the street with the ear pieces, and they're like ushering in men to all these different things, and then I was by myself, and I tried to walk into one, and they wouldn't let me in because I couldn't really speak Japanese, and I think the guy could speak a little bit of English, but he wasn't having it. He was just like, "No, bye, see ya." And from what I know, you need to be with somebody that is either Japanese or can speak like fluent Japanese to convince them to let you in. But I could be wrong. Is that true, Ray?
I think it's
or
a case.
You don't really go to those places.
Well, I've been to a few places, but I think it's a case by case. Like, well, then again, I can speak Japanese, so I'm able to get into these places. But I think if you go to Akihabara, they try to cater to more Westerners because it's a huge tourist spot. So they want to take advantage of the money that tourists carry around. So of course they're trying to welcome them in.
Yeah, but I was in a completely different area. It was like a really business style area. So and there weren't that many foreigners in that area, and I think I don't know, maybe that was it. Who knows? But anyway, I understand why you would like this movie, Eric. It is eye candy. They are very attractive ladies. Ray, your thoughts?
I enjoy this movie too. I like the mishmash of the two different characters. They did it really well in this movie, and Fukada Kyoko is still looking cute. And I don't know, she hasn't really done much the past few years. I know
she was in Gonin Saga.
Okay, because I hear mostly about her music, I think, nowadays, but I haven't really seen her in many movies past couple of years. Maybe I just haven't been paying attention enough, but yeah. It's a good movie. I really enjoy it.
Cool. All right, so we are up to, well, I've said my number 11, so Ray, do you want to talk about number 11?
My number 11 is about a song which can save the world. It's Fish Story.
Ah, that's on my list too.
Wow.
I really enjoyed Fish Story. It's just one of those things that you don't know how it is going to end up, but once it completes its story and everything just ties up at the end, it's a really satisfying conclusion. Basically, the story is about this really kind of hipstery punk song that debuted in Japan before the punk boom happened, and at the time nobody really understood what the song was about or even the genre. So it just was just like a one-off and then just forgotten over time. But as time went on, more people started discovering it, and it kind of just chains off from there. And the story is about how the song affected a few groups of characters and throughout the life. And I don't want to say too much about it other than that, but it's quite fun.
Yeah. I'll talk about it when I get to it. It's in my list. It's in my top 10. Eric?
I enjoyed this one. I like the different storylines that some films do. Like Survive Style 5 had different stories. This one has different storylines, and you're like, where is this going to go? You know what I mean? It's really interesting how it goes through and progresses. So, yeah, it's a good one.
Cool. All right, your number 11.
This one should have been higher, now that I think about it. But it's at 11. Azumi from 2003, baby. This is Ryohei Kitamura, starring Io Ueto. and Joe Odagiri again. And this one is, set in 17th century Japan. You have the 17-year-old girl who, is one in a band of assassins. She's one assassin in this group that are attempting to stop a war by killing the top three, evil lords, I guess, or whatever. And this was like one of the first contemporary Japanese action flicks that I just fell in love with. Really over-the-top stuff. Kitamura really was kind of firing on all cylinders with this one, I think. This is my favorite film of his. Huge body count in this movie. I think I counted the number of deaths that our protagonist was specifically responsible for, and it was like 180 or something. Like, it was ridiculous.
So she's up there with, like, Rambo.
Yeah. And I do think, though, that there are some pretty good storylines in this movie and some good character moments, too. It's not totally just, vapid. But and I love the villains. Joe Odagiri's awesome in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've rewatched this movie dozens of times, and, it's one that I rewatch all the time.
Yeah. Do you agree with me that it's a good, they're a good follow-up to, like, if you've seen the Rurouni Kenshin films and you want something in a similar style, that these are definitely worth checking out?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, cool. Ray, your thoughts? I think we already spoke about it, but
I think we spoke about it, but nothing more to add. But yeah, fun movie, fun two movies. But Eric, which would you like more, the sequel or the first movie?
I like the first one. Actually, the sequel is directed by Shusuke Kaneko, who did the Godzilla movie that I mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. So the director's changed up. The second one is really interesting because you have a lot of one-on-one fights. The body count drops. But the problem I have with the second one is the ending is abrupt. You don't get that huge finale that you do in the first movie, and it feels a little abrupt, but it's still a great finish to the story, I think.
Cool. All right, so we're up to the top 10. Yeah.
Woo!
Top 10. Well, here we go. All right, one that Eric already mentioned, my number 10. So I started my top 20 with a giant monster movie. I'm starting my top 10 with a giant monster movie. Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah. There we go.
Yeah.
What is it? All Monsters Attack?
Yeah.
It's got such a long title.
Yeah.
Again, it's one of the... I really like the Millennium era Godzilla films. I like the 90s ones as well. So the 90s and the 2000s Godzilla films are my favorites, only because I'm a child of that era and I grew up watching those, and I was a teenager when the 2000 stuff was coming out and I was still in high school. And, when you're discovering Asian cinema at that stage, and it's just such a great movie. It's in my opinion, it's the best Godzilla film. Obviously, not including I think we can all agree that the first Godzilla film is a classic and it stands alone. But I'm talking about like anything other than that first Godzilla film. I really like this movie. Mm-hmm. It has Mothra in it. I'm not the biggest fan of those 90s Mothra films. They made that Mothra trilogy. They're not that great. I do own them, but this Godzilla film, man, it's so much fun. And I think we've spoken about that one, so we can probably move on to Ray's number 10.
My number 10 is Summer Wars, directed by Hosoda Mamoru. For me, this was now maybe not my favorite movie of his, but it's definitely up there. What I really like is this movie inspired me to learn how to play Hanafuda, which is the kind of cards that they use as pretty much the main device they use to take down the bad guy. And I thought it was very fun, very energetic from the start. Animation was cool, and just the concept of it all, like it kind of took like how everything was integrated into the internet, and they kind of played along with it. They made pretty much in this world everything from the emergency systems to the traffic lights to your cell phones to your games are all connected to what is essentially Facebook, I guess. I don't know how else to describe it. And then there's this rogue program this rogue AI that runs wild, and this and it's up to this kind of group this family to take it down. And what I really like, it combines those kinds of sci-fi elements with a really heartfelt family story. Like it's centered around the grandmother. She's kind of the boss of everyone. And you can kind of see how everyone interacts with the grandma. And just that family dynamic I really enjoyed too.
Yeah, I remember liking this film. And when I did my review on it, quite a few people commented saying that it is basically an extended version of a Digimon episode or Digimon film that the director made. It's like a re-imaging of it. And if you look online, you can actually find comparisons to the Digimon thing and this. And it's pretty close. So not taking anything away from that movie, but basically I think what he did was he took all the good parts of the Digimon thing that he did and went, no, I'm going to make this better. But I can't remember I can't remember if it was like one episode of Digimon or it was one of those straight to video Digimon movies.
I think Hosoda directed movies rather than episodes. I could be wrong, but I think he made his following by making Digimon movies. Or OVAs, I guess, but I can't tell you which ones were because I never followed it. I'm a Pokemon fan at heart.
Yeah, I never got into Digimon. Eric, what do you think about Summer Wars?
I liked it. It's a good one. I think, if I remember correctly, I did have a little bit of... I felt the pacing was a little slow, maybe during the middle section, but it definitely makes up for it with that finale, which is pretty sweet. So I liked it.
Cool. All right. Now, your number 10.
Strange Circus cracks my number 10.
Woo-hoo. There we go.
Sion Sono. Now, the lead actress here, I looked her up because I haven't seen her much. Her name is Masumi Miyazaki, the wife, so to speak. And this was her last role. I don't know why she didn't do anything after this, because I thought she was really good in this. And I think we basically covered the plot. I guess the plot synopsis is that an erotic novelist is writing like a morbid story of this family, and it's kind of like, they investigate what happened or whatever. But very sick, perverted film. A lot of controversial themes, but it's also very interesting and thought-provoking too, especially the second half. Lots of twists and psychological elements there. Very nicely shot too. I like the use of color in this, especially those weird circus scenes that are around. So I have not seen this film in years, but I am definitely rewatching it for October horror time this year. So I recommend this one.
Awesome. All right, let's get to, did you have anything else you want to add, Ray? Or we pretty much covered everything?
It was a movie which I haven't seen yet. So
yeah. Oh, that's right. All right, I'm looking at my list. What do I have next? I'm sorry, but it's another Satoshi Kon film. Can you guess which one it is? At number 9, you guys want to have
Paprika.
Of course, it's Paprika. Paprika, basically, Paprika's kind of like, I don't want to say an animated Inception, but it has very similar ideas, like going into people's dreams and stuff. So it's basically, there's this machine that allows people to go into other people's dreams, and that's all you need to know. It's one of his, I think, did we look it up? Was it his last film? That's what I want to look up. I think it might be his last film.
I want to say so too, because that was definitely after Tokyo Godfathers.
Yeah, that. Let's have a look. Director. Apparently, something called Dreaming Machine has been announced.
Well, then that was a movie that was like put on hold, I think, indefinitely, wasn't it?
I'm surprised nobody put the money in to complete it though, because he started it, and I think I don't know. I would like to see somebody complete that bad boy.
Yeah, it's still listed on IMDb, but yeah, Paprika was his last film. So he did some episodes of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Then he did Perfect Blue, Millennium Actress, Tokyo Godfathers, the Paranoia Agent series that everyone needs to watch if you're a fan of Death Note and like that darker thrillery style anime stuff, more adult stuff, then I highly recommend that. Then Paprika. And then he did one episode of Anikuri 15 or something that's on here. And that was the last thing he did. And then, of course, Dreaming Machine has been sitting around on the shelf uncompleted for quite some time. But yeah, Paprika is... I don't think it's his best film. I think, for me, Perfect Blue is probably his best film, but that's just what I like. Everybody knows thrillers are my thing, so... But I think Paprika's a very, very well-made movie. Does it feature on your list, Ray?
It is not on my list, just because I decided to go with another Satoshi Kon movie to put. But I definitely enjoyed Paprika nonetheless. I actually caught it in the cinema back in California. I did a limited run. All I knew going into it is that it was from the director of Perfect Blue and Paranoia Agent. I was like, oh, hell yeah. All you needed to say was Paranoia Agent. And I was... it lived up to my expectations and even went beyond. It was really good.
Cool. Eric?
Yeah, if I was forced to choose a favorite film from this director, I think it might be Paprika for me. Only saw it one time, but it's very vivid memories of that movie. I liked how they used like the different dreams to build character development too, and how it progressively got more crazy. Yeah. And the score to this, the music in this movie is amazing as well. So yeah, very good movie.
Cool. All right, Ray, your choice for number 9.
My number 9 is what year did it come out? It's a 2008 Mitani Koki movie by the name of The Magic Hour. It's a comedy. It's an ensemble comedy. Have you guys seen the movie Bowfinger? I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, the Eddie Murphy, Steve Martin film.
Yeah, it's kind of, it reminded me a lot of that movie where it's about this group of guys trying to fake a movie, trying to trick a guy to act in this fake movie without realizing he's acting. And the actor they get to swindle into acting is Sato Koichi, who's in a lot of films, and it's also led by Tsumabuki Satoshi. And basically, it takes place in this city, and it's kind of like, it takes place in modern times, but this city that's trapped in like the times of like old mafia and gangs, like The Godfather, or even like those old like old noir films. But essentially, this guy gets in trouble by the boss for sleeping with the boss's wife, and so the guy says, in order to escape certain death, he says he's friends with this famous assassin, and this intrigues the boss, and so the boss says, "All right, go find me this assassin, then I'll forgive you." And then but the truth is he doesn't know this assassin, so he tries to hire a guy to play the assassin. And he convinces him because Sato Koichi, he's a struggling actor, and he's like, "All right, I'll do any movie, just give me work." And so it just goes into this whole slew of misunderstandings and really awkward moments that are just really funny.
Cool. I have not seen this one. Eric, have you seen it?
I have not seen it.
Hey, something went well.
Oh, it's a first, yeah.
Oh my god. All right, your pick, Eric.
The Magic Hour.
All right, he has not appeared yet, and it's time for him to appear, and that's Shinya Tsukamoto. And I'm going to do A Snake of June from 2002. It's kind of a drama. The lead actress is Asuka Kurosawa, who was the crazy wife from Cold Fish. It's basically about, this one's about a married couple who are in a sexless relationship. And one day a stalker, who's played by Tsukamoto, takes some naughty photos of the wife and sends it to her and blackmails her into doing other naughty things. And despite like the sensual nature of this, it's actually very tastefully done and classy. There's a lot in this film that's communicated with visuals instead of words, which I really liked. It's set during the rainy season in Japan, so there's a lot of water imagery here. And he shot the film, I think, in black and white, and then laid over like a blue tinted, a real deep blue tint to it to accentuate the rainy season. And the film looks really cool. Yeah, a little bit weird and surreal in spots, but I think this movie's really interesting.
I have not seen it. Ray?
Me neither. I think I've only seen like Shinya Tsukamoto's later movies, not necessarily movies from this decade, or the decade we're talking about, but definitely intrigued to watch it though.
Yeah, it sounds really cool. All right, so we are up to number 8. All right, I really love this movie. I have a shameless love for it. Technically, it's not just a Japanese film. It's like a Japanese, US, UK co-production, and that is Brother.
Oh.
I love Brother. I think it's a lot of fun. I think this is like a co-production that's done really well. So you have it set in the United States, but you have Japanese actors and some Japanese American actors, as well as just, American actors. And you're bringing that whole Yakuza thing to the United States. And I like how there's the limited conversation skills because Beat Takeshi can't speak English all that well. And he has that scene with Omar Epps at the beginning where he beats the crap out of him. I like it. I know a lot of people don't like this movie, but it's one that I really enjoy because I saw it. It was one of the first films I saw from him. Obviously, there was Battle Royale, but Battle Royale wasn't his film. He just was in Battle Royale, but this was one of his films. And this kind of opened up the door for me to watch his other movies, his more classic films like Boiling Point and all that stuff. But I really enjoy Brother, and I think I'm not the only person that likes this film, to be honest. But I don't know. Ray, thoughts on Brother?
I liked it. I'm one of the guys that liked it. I think the concept was intriguing for me. Beat Takeshi, if I remember correctly, he's an exiled Yakuza member. He gets exiled.
Yeah, that's correct.
And then he tries to start his own brotherhood in the States, but it gets into a lot of trouble with other.
So it's like the Italian mafia.
Yeah.
He gets in.
Yeah, that's what it was. But I do remember being entertained by it a lot.
Yeah. He has to deal with like the Italian mafia and like I think there might be like Cubans and like South American and Mexican. It's Eric, thoughts, brother?
I liked it too. I liked it. It may not be necessarily one of my favorites from Kitano, but it was a good flick. I enjoyed it. A good feat of entertainment.
Yeah, I think it bridges the gap well. That's what I like about it. All right, Ray, your choice for number 8.
My number 8 is my favorite Yaguchi Shinobu movie of all time, 2004 movie by the name of Swing Girls. And it's kind of I consider it the sister movie to Waterboys, which I mentioned in my honorable mentions. It's another fish out of water story based around these kind of girls who just want to be lazy, and they kind of get pressured into becoming the brass band of their school. And they're kind of against it at first, but they are basically given no choice because they accidentally poisoned the actual school band. But then the school band comes back all healthy, and they take back their instruments. But when it comes to that time, the girls discover that they actually like playing music, so they go on and continue to play. But what I really appreciate about this movie is the girls actually went and learned how to play the instruments for reals, and so just to make their performance a lot more genuine.
Cool. I have not seen this movie. Sorry, Ray.
It has Ueno Juri, who's Eric's main squeeze, right?
I have a lot of main squeezes, my friend. And this movie's higher on my list.
Oh. All right. So we're up to number 7.
Or it's still my number 8.
Sorry, your number 8. Sorry. I thought you were going to talk about that one. My bad.
Maybe a little low for some people. I'm going with Love Exposure for 2008.
No. But it's okay.
A drama comedy directed by Sono. This one made me fall in love with Hikari Mitsushima, I'll tell you that much. And Sakura Ando's in it too.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult to talk about the plot of this movie. Basically, a high school kid basically tries to get the attention of his priest father, who kind of ignores him. So he tries to get his attention by rebelling. So he joins a gang of photographers who take panty shots of girls. And along the way, he attempts to earn the love of a girl that he meets while defending his family against another threat that kind of comes into play. This is a genre bender, to say the least. A lot of different themes here. Very assured first-rate direction and script writing in this. I think it flows really well. It has to hold the record probably for the number of panty shots in a movie, at least a legitimate movie. And it's 4 hours long. And I'm kind of I don't know if I'm in the minority on this thought or not, but I think the pacing is so fast for the first 2 hours that I think you just got to watch it all at once and you ride that through, because the pacing definitely slows down a lot during the last 2 hours. So I think it's good to watch it all in one sitting.
It's higher on my list.
Likewise here.
All right. So, okay. I apologize for butting in before. Number 7. For me, number 7 is Pulse. Probably my favorite movie, well, Japanese horror movie from that J-boom. I think this one has a lot more depth to it. And there's that classic scene. If you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, there's the classic scene where somebody commits suicide and it's all done in that beautiful shot, and that stays with you forever. I still think about that shot, not every day, but it's been years. Well, when did this movie come out? Was it like early 2001?
Correct.
Yeah. So, how long? That's a long time. And I still think about that movie. And I remember when it first came out, I didn't see it at the cinema. I saw it on DVD or VHS, one of the two. It's probably DVD at that point. And I remember not really liking it because it wasn't like The Ring or The Grudge or all these other ones which were a bit more mainstream, I guess, and didn't have deeper themes. And then I watched it again once I was a bit older and I appreciated it more. And I think it's the best film from that selection of movies from like the early 2000s, the J-horror boom. Do not watch the US remake. People are complaining. It's funny. You see all these. I know I'm going to sound like an old man telling young kids to get off my porch, but you see all like the younger generation. Like we talked about Death Note a bit before we started this podcast, and there's a lot of people bitching and moaning about Death Note. Like a lot of younger people. It's like they don't realize a lot of these kids, and I'm going to call them kids. Sorry, you didn't live through the early 2000s, or you're probably very young and you don't remember that every single Japanese horror film was remade in the United States and they were all bad. The Ring was not too bad, the first one. The Ring 2, which was actually directed by the original Japanese director, was shockingly bad. But there was that whole boom. It was Dark Water was remade, Pulse was remade. There were even like Shudder, that was another one.
One Missed Call.
One Missed Call.
You name it, it was remade.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Pulse. Thoughts, Ray?
I was one of the folks who watched the U.S. version of Pulse before watching the Japanese.
Boo!
Oh! It was in the cinema, and my friends were keen for just a random horror movie, and Pulse happened to be showing, so we watched it. And I guess because my image of Pulse was so like blockbuster popcorn horror, that when I watched the Japanese version, I felt it was really dragging. Like I just couldn't appreciate it at that time. I haven't rewatched it since, but I just remember that because I had this kind of popcorn image in my mind, I couldn't fully appreciate the Japanese version of Pulse. So I haven't since gone back to watch it, but it's definitely something that needs to be done.
Yeah, totally. Eric?
Higher on my list.
I thought it would be. I know you really like this film. Okay. So, Ray, your choice for number 7.
My number 7 is Departures, which we mentioned earlier. When I first watched it, shed a lot of tears. It really got me. Not many movies get me to shed tears, but this was definitely one of the movies that did. I guess for me, what the movies that make me cry are the ones that are based on some kind of family drama, and this one really hit me hard. And another thing I appreciate about this movie was the music, composed by Hisaishi Joe, who composed all the Ghibli movie music. So that kind of just hearing that familiarity with this really good story, it really got to me.
Ray, sorry, Ray. Eric, do you have anything else you want to add about Departures? We've already...
Nope.
No, we've covered it.
Yes.
All right, what's your next choice?
I'm going with The Hidden Blade from 2004. It's a samurai era drama directed by Yoji Yamada, who has a long history of movies. And this is like part of a thematic trilogy, which also includes The Twilight Samurai and Love and Honor. And it stars Masatoshi Nagase, who was in Smuggler and Suicide Club, and Takako Matsu, who was in Confessions. So this film's set in like the late 1800s, which is kind of one of the more interesting eras of the samurai, because it's kind of like they're getting near the end. You know, they're getting pressured to get on with like the technology of the world. And our main character here is a samurai who's faced with a series of challenges as the country begins to westernize their weaponry. And really just, I mean, it's just a high quality film all around, really impressive character development. The ending always gets me in this one, man. It gets me. So this could be one of my it's definitely one of my favorite like samurai dramas of all time. So I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I almost put this. I should have put this as an honorable mention. I had it in the long list of things, and it didn't make it. But now that I think about it, it probably should have. It's a fantastic movie. Bless you, Ray.
Thank you.
What do you have?
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen Twilight.
I haven't seen it.
Really?
The Hidden Blade.
Ah, sorry.
Like, yeah. I mean, Twilight Samurai, I think, not Twilight Samurai, but yeah, Hidden Blade.
Yeah.
I don't think I've even heard of it until now, to be honest. But definitely checking it out if it meets your guys' expectations the way you guys talk about it. So, yeah.
Cool. All right, so we're up to what's that? Lenny.
Number 6.
What do you want? Sorry, Lenny. Yeah. Oh, sorry, the cat's just being weird.
Actually, I have to take a quick lavatory break. I'll be right back.
Knock yourself out. Lenny, what are you doing? All right, so my number 6, Ray, is Fish Story.
Yeah.
So it made the list. And I don't know. It's one of those movies I don't really want to spoil for anyone because it is kind of crazy. It's just a really cool story. I hadn't seen this film before I started my channel, and I had quite a few people recommend the movie to me, and I'm yet to film a review for it. But I watched it, and I was just like, wow, this movie is fantastic. Such a great movie.
It is, and it had a lot of good talent in it too. Like even until now, like Hamada Gaku, who plays the nice guy driver dude. Like you see him a lot in recent movies nowadays, and even a lot of commercials. I think he's pretty big. And like he's one of those guys that doesn't seem to age. He'll always be a baby-faced actor.
Yeah.
Although I think he's in his late 20s right now, and his wife is hot too.
Oh, of course. All these guys' wives are hot. So is there anything, while we're waiting for Eric, is there anything coming up for you that you're looking forward to seeing?
Well, one movie that came out actually either this past weekend or 2 weekends ago is I can never remember the title. It's like super long, but it's an animated movie based on a TV movie directed by Iwai Shuji. It says, I think it's like, do we watch fireworks from the side or from in front or something like that? Let me look it up. But that just came out this past weekend or two weekends ago, and it started off really well. I think it got number 1 in the box office,
Right.
over 1 billion yen even. But yeah, it's a movie that I haven't had time to watch, but I definitely intend to watch in the next week.
Cool. So, Eric, my number 6 was Fish Story.
Nice.
So we've kind of covered that. Ray, what's your number 6?
My number 6 is Spirited Away from Studio Ghibli, directed by Miyazaki Hayao in 2001. This was the first Ghibli movie I watched. I was very unfamiliar with Ghibli. I recognize the artwork. Like you can recognize Studio Ghibli's art style is something you can, like, it's quite unique, and if you were to just see it on its own, you would recognize, oh, it's a Studio Ghibli movie. But I think other movies I might have seen here and there, but Spirited Away was the first Ghibli movie I watched, and it's about a girl who gets separated from her family, and she gets swept into this magical world where she essentially works in a bathhouse, and she has to work there while essentially trying to find a way back to her parents. What's interesting is the bathhouse that the story takes place in is a real bathhouse in Taiwan. So if you got the travel bug, you can go and check it out.
Yeah, it's higher on my list.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm. Eric?
Fantastic movie. If you hadn't noticed, I have no anime on my list again for Japan, and that's because it was so hard just to narrow down the live action films. If I had to include anime, I'd be in serious trouble. So, but yeah, it's great stuff.
Yeah. My excuse was when I was a massive anime nerd at that time in my life. I still like anime, but I was like really into it. So I think that's why so many have made my list.
Oh yeah, they're worthy.
Yeah, totally. Okay, man, what's your number 6?
It's Swing Girls from 2004. This is right up there with Wood Job is like my favorites from this guy. Stars Juri Ueno, and we've already covered the plot. Mm-hmm. Definitely one of the most charming comedies I've ever seen. This is one of my all-time favorites. And I know a lot of people associate Japanese films and comedies with like crazy over-the-top stuff, but this is one that I always recommend to say, hey, Japan makes a lot of movies that are really, really quaint and focus on everyday living stuff, and this is a great one. And the concert at the end is fantastic. I love it.
Cool. All right, so we're hitting top 5 territory now. These are the big guns. All right, I'm going to come out of left field a little bit here. Number 5 is another anime. Oh my god. But it's not one that you guys may have seen it, but it's from 2007. It's called Sword of the Stranger. Have you heard of this one? Maybe?
Yeah.
So Sword of the Stranger is about a swordsman who has to take this young boy and his dog to this Buddhist temple. And it was one of those movies that I bought as a blind buy. I remember I was in a DVD store, and it was on the shelf in like the new release anime section. This is going back, 10 years ago. And I looked at it. I was like, this seems really cool. And I watched it, and it's one of my favorite animated films ever. I don't know why. I just really like it. It's very violent. In Australia, it's like an MA rated film, so 15 plus. I like the story. If you like the old school kind of like wandering samurai movies, then it's definitely worth checking out. Ray, have you seen this one?
I know of it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I think it came at a time when I stopped watching anime. Like, I was a big anime nerd probably around 2003, 2004, but then it kind of dropped when I started paying more attention to live action movies. And I think this came out, it looks like, I just looked up right now, 2007. Yeah. And it's around the time when I kind of steadily just stopped watching anime movies. Anime TV series and anime movies, save for the occasional Ghibli ones. But,
yeah, this is when I kind of started to drift away from it as well, but this one kind of kept me there for a little bit longer. Eric, have you seen Sword of the Stranger?
Yeah, I heard about this one on message boards. It's actually known in America primarily for its action scenes, I think, and the action scenes deliver in this. I think the story's commonplace but well executed, so it's a good one.
Yeah, it's definitely, we've seen this kind of thing before, but I don't know, there's something about it that I really enjoyed. All right, number 5 for you, Ray.
Number 5 is another tearjerker. It's a 2004 movie of Koreeda Hirokazu, Nobody Knows. And it's about these kids who essentially get left behind in their apartment by their mom, who's going off to see her boyfriend, and essentially the kids are left to fend for themselves as far as finding how to get food, how to clean the house, and it goes the way you would expect a story like this to go, and it ends really tragically. But it's a movie that really hit me hard when I first watched it.
Yeah, this is one I've seen, and I agree. It is a tearjerker, that's for sure. The kids are great in the film. Eric, your thoughts on this?
Very good flick. It's one of those movies that kind of makes you angry a little bit while you're watching it too. Yeah, the performances were really good. Creed is one of those directors. I have yet to see a film from him that I did not at least like. So he's very reliable. And this one is one of his more highly acclaimed ones, so it's probably a must-see for everybody.
Yeah. Sure. Okay, you're number 5.
Oh, boy. This is serious danger of derailing this entire conversation, but God. Here we go. I'm going with the Death Note movies from 2006, the live-action films. Now,
Topical.
Now, everybody knows what these are about. So what I'm going to say is I think I liked how they strategized these live-action films. So the first thing they did was they carved out the ancillary stories and side plots and focused primarily on the L versus Light conflict. Instead of forcing it into like 100-minute movie or something, they spread it out over 2.
Who would possibly try and fit all that into a 100-minute film?
I don't know. I don't know. So you got 4.5 hours to work with this, which I think helped because it allowed them to really, like the first hour of the first movie sets things up. I like how it sets things up and it's methodical. I appreciated the lengthy sequence where L kind of narrowed down the suspects. It took its time to kind of take you through that process to bring the protagonist and the antagonist together. I think the thing I appreciated most about this movie is the script writing. I think the script is just really solid from top to bottom. Ryuk is fantastic despite the low-grade CGI. I mean, when he first shows up, you're like, what is this? But by the end of that second film, he's like a living, breathing character in the film. And what else do I have to say here? Oh, yeah, the big finale. The second movie, the last hour of the second movie is everything I want out of like a Death Note property. When you have like an hour of like a chess match where each guy's thinking like 7 moves ahead. And I love how it just finishes off the story. So these movies I watch just as much, if not more than any other Japanese film that I've ever seen. And yeah, I really like them. I think they're kind of underappreciated actually.
Okay. Sorry. Oh man. Ray, do you want to take it?
Wow.
I never considered them for the list, but I do think they were good adaptations. Well, the first 2. The third one, I don't know. It wasn't good at all. The follow-up, which came out last year, I liked for what it was. It wasn't as intelligent as the original story was, but for what it was, a popcorn blockbuster, it was fun. But these 2 movies, like I thought the main actors, they really portrayed their characters quite well, especially Matsuyama Keiichi, who did a very, very good L. But yeah, it was fun. Definitely a lot more thought out than the previous, the current Netflix movie. So, yeah.
I think the thing with the Ryuk character, I'm getting that reverb. Hang on. Oh. All right, are we good? No? Yeah, that's good. The thing with the Ryuk character, I know you said like the CG, it doesn't really hold up now, but I think the beauty of that character is through the vocal performance. It's so good. It's much better than Willem Dafoe's, even though he wasn't that bad. But yeah, I think, like I said, I really like in my review for the recent Netflix film, I really like the original story, and when I don't know, man. I don't know. I think these films are average.
That's fine. That's fine.
Sorry.
I won't. You're not my friend anymore, man.
No, I remember it was one of those things like when I first saw them, I really enjoyed them when I first saw them because I was like, oh, these are really cool. And then when I rewatched them to do the podcast, the first thing I did with Ray and Jason, I was kind of like, they're okay. They're not as good as I remembered them to be, but I understand why people like them. And as adaptations go, considering, how many adaptations we've had, and most of them aren't very good. Most of them are pretty crappy. So it's one of the better ones, that's for sure. But yeah, all right. So we're up to number 4. My pick for number 4 is a film we've already talked about, Tokyo Sonata. Really great drama. Totally worth checking out. There's not much more I want to add to this because we've already spoken about it. So, Ray, you're number 4.
My number 4, I think. See, I'm hoping that it fits into our timeline because I think when I initially looked up the release date for this movie, I got 2 different answers. One for 1999 and another for 2000. I think it was released in the festivals in '99, but theatrically in Japan in 2000, and that was Audition. I really like Audition. It's another movie that freaked me out the first time I seen it, with the ending. Like, I couldn't believe. Thankfully, that was at the end, not the beginning, so I was able to just muscle on through it. But it kind of defined what Miike Takashi would be as a director for me. So yeah. Should I talk? I don't know. I'm hoping everyone knows the story.
I think most people know Audition. I would hope so. It's probably one of the most famous Japanese films from this era.
It's a great romantic comedy for anybody who hasn't seen it.
Most definitely. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure you can. Yeah.
Grandma. Oh my god! I could imagine if I tried to make my grandmother watch that film. Maybe not now. She's probably a little bit too old, but that would be hilarious. Hey, Grandma, do you want to watch this movie? It's about this young girl who's trying to audition for a movie. You'll love it. I didn't include Audition on this list because of the 99-2000 crossover thing. But it would definitely be in this list. Eric?
Agreed. I agree.
Yeah. Cool. So what's your number? What are we up to? Number 4.
I'm going with the scariest film I've ever seen in my life, and that is Noroi, also known as The Curse, from 2005. It's directed by Koji Shiraishi, who also did Grotesque. No big name actors in this. This is documentary-style horror film. Follows a reporter who investigates a series of strange events and deaths that seem to be connected to an ancient ritual. This movie scared the living freaking crap out of me, man. It's the thing that I really like about it is that it is a true documentary style, and you see things and you're not really sure why they're being shown. There'll be a clip of something and oh, that's kind of weird, and then later on in the movie, there's an image that'll be presented to you that you connect the dots and you see that they're linked, and you get freaked out. So this movie is just excellent. The mythos that it develops is really complex and interesting. I still can't watch this at night, so I recommend Noroi.
I haven't seen this. Right?
I have seen it, and I agree. I am baffled why I haven't included that movie in this list. I'm kind of regretful for that because this definitely scared the bejesus out of me too. And one little bit of trivia, Shiraishi Koji also directed Sadako versus Kayako.
Yeah.
And also, I think this isn't his only documentary style movie. He also did Shirome, which was terrible. It's basically, there's this idol group in Japan by the name of Momoiro Clover Z, and he essentially tricks these girls. This is a real idol group, by the way. He tricks these girls into going into this haunted house, and he has his staff members behind the walls making these noises and making the girls cry.
So, yeah, it was an odd film.
Yeah, you just the whole runtime is just girls screaming and crying, and it just gets annoying after a while. But Noroi is still by far the best movie I've seen from him.
And he also did a movie called Cult from 2013 that I thought was pretty interesting. And he also directed a bunch of documentary style horror films that don't have English subtitles that I watched that are based on different Japanese urban legends like Kuchisake Onna and stuff like that. So I'm kind of a fan of this guy.
Correction, I have seen this movie. It's called something else. It's called The Curse.
The Curse, yeah, The Curse.
Right, that's why I didn't know it. Yes, it's fucking terrifying. I want to see Cult. Cult seems interesting.
It's quirkier. It's a little quirkier, but I liked it. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, found footage films are very difficult to get right, I think. And I think I'm going to call it The Curse because that's what I know it as. He does a very good job with it. All right, so we're down to our top 3.
Woo!
My number 3 is a film we've already spoken about. It's Love Exposure. 4-hour epic film. I agree with everything that Eric said earlier. You need to watch this in one sitting. I have this on DVD, and the Australian DVD is actually a 2-disc set because they can't fit the entire film on one DVD. They have to split it. I don't know about the Blu-ray, if it's the same for a Blu-ray. I don't think we have a Blu-ray release of that here. So it's an excellent film. It's one that people have been asking me to talk about for quite some time. But I think it's one of those movies, I don't know, you need to spend a lot of time with it to do it justice. It's not something you can just talk about on a whim. Anything else you guys want to add about Love Exposure?
It's a little bit higher in my list.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, what's your number 3 then?
My number 3 is my favorite movie by Satoshi Kon, and that is Millennium Actress. I actually like it a little bit better than Perfect Blue just because of the way it was told. It just like Perfect Blue, it was told in this very trippy style of storytelling that I really think only Satoshi Kon can do. And I thought just it was very cute and clever with its references to classical Japanese cinema. Like there was a reference to one or two Kurosawa Akira movies and even Godzilla. And they kind of squeezed it into the whole narrative. And I thought it was just really clever and really intelligent. And just really engrossing from the start.
Eric?
Yeah. I said all there needs to be said about it. Very good movie.
Yeah. Cool. All right, your choice.
Battle Royal from 2000. Thriller. Directed by Kinji Fukasaku. Did the Yakuza paper films and a bunch of other stuff. Again, the cast. For anybody who doesn't know. Tatsuya Fujiwara. Aki Maeda. Ando Masanobu. Ko Shibazaki, Chiaki Kuriyama, and Takeshi Kitano, to name a few. So obviously this is the one where, the class gets transported to an island and forced to play a game of death over three days. This film is just so... When I first watched this, I blind bought it. And I was expecting it to be really disturbing, but I was actually really freaking entertained by this movie. Like, it didn't even really disturb me much, which I don't know. And every minute is just like right from the start, thrilling from minute 1. I like how it has some themes that you can think of, but my favorite part of the movie is thinking about what you would do in that situation. You know what I mean? If you were thrown on the island, like me, I can't fight, so I would hide out for a few days, let some people kill each other off, and then I'd make my move on day 3.
I know what you would be on the island. You would be one of the guys trying to develop the bomb and doing all the coding stuff, maybe.
I don't know, possibly. And one last note: this movie made me an instant fan of Ando Masanobu and Ko Shibazaki because they played the two badasses in this one. I recommend it.
It's higher on my list.
Yeah.
Ray?
Well, this is also in my top two, and it is my number two actually. So,
Or do you want to talk about it now?
yeah, I guess I should. And it was really tough to deciding which I like between the movies I chose in my top two. But yeah, this movie, it kind of like what I liked is when I first watched it, I only knew it by just hearsay, like, oh, Battle Royale is like you gotta watch it because it'll freak you out. It's so like mind boggling. It's so like it'll make you shocked basically. And when I watched it, I was shocked. I watched it at a buddy's house. He had the DVD, and he lived like 3 houses down from me. But even as I finished it, I walked out. I was like in that mode. I was like, oh man, nobody better be hiding in the bushes, like with a bow and arrow or even a trash can lid. No, I don't want any of that. But what I also appreciate about Battle Royale, I don't know. I don't think it is, but it seemed like it set a trend with a lot of survival, like style horror movies that come out of Japanese cinema. Like they don't get released in the West, I think, but there are always these movies that have the word game in it. Like there's X Game, Osama Game, Jinro Game, Joker Game, and they're all the same. They're all the same thing. They're all, you change the rules of the game a little bit, but I feel like Battle Royale started that whole trend, and that's something I really appreciate about it.
Cool. All right. Well, I'll go to my number two, and that is another anime. Do you guys want to guess which anime it is? Take a crack.
Let's see.
What could it be?
Vampire Hunter D. Vampire Hunter D. Bloodlust.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
No, it's not that, but I almost put it on my list. It's one we've already
Cowboy
spoken
Bebop.
about.
Not Cowboy Bebop?
No. It's not. I don't think that's 2000. I think that's like late 90s.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Sure. Yeah, it could be. No, it's Spirited Away.
Oh.
One of my favorite animated films of all time. People might say this about Spirited Away. It is that Alice in Wonderland style story. You take the young girl and she goes into a new land, but I really love that story. Every time that story is told, Wizard of Oz, Alice in Wonderland, Labyrinth, and then this, Spirited Away. I love all those movies. There's just something about that story that I enjoy, and I really love the visuals in this, and I love all the different creatures. It's a beautiful film, absolutely beautiful. I remember seeing this at the cinema. I think this is the first Japanese animated film I saw at the cinema. I think this is the one. And I remember, I don't have it here, but I used to have this like special edition DVD box set that came in this like beautiful like. Oh, bless you again.
Thank you.
You allergic to cats?
Yeah. I have a bit of a cat allergy, and my desk is a bit dusty right now.
So yeah, it came in this beautiful box set, and it was one of those movies I just rewatched and rewatched and rewatched. And when I was in Japan, I bought my niece this Japanese hardcover book of Spirited Away. Like they basically just took some of the still shots from the film, and it was all in Japanese, and she can't read it because she's only like 1 years old. Well, I think she's one, maybe 1.5. She could be 2. I don't know. She's not my kid. And it's just something, I don't know. I love it. I think it's a beautiful movie. So I don't know. We've said all we can say probably about Spirited Away, unless there's anything you guys want to add.
I can't wait to rewatch this. I haven't seen this one in years. I'm going to rewatch it soon.
Yeah, it's so good, man. So Eric, what's your number 2?
Well, I try to limit myself to 2 films per director, and I got 1 in, so this is the second one. I'm going with Vital from 2004. Shinya Tsukamoto again. This one is Tadanobu Asano as the lead actor. So this one, it's a romance. Some people don't think it's a romance, but they're wrong. It's a romance. So this guy, his girlfriend's killed in a car accident, okay? He loses his memory a little bit, and he basically enrolls back in medical school and stuff, and he's dissecting a body. in medical class. Now, I don't want to give stuff. Okay, so he ends up having these visions, okay, while he's dissecting the body, but in the association with that, of his ex-girlfriend, who you're not sure if they're dreams, if they're actual memories, or if they're visitations from the supernatural. And that's kind of where the film kind of sets itself up. It's a very, very romantic film, I think. You know, the dissection scenes are very cool and unorthodox because they present biology as like this beautiful thing. You know what I mean? And it associates with the romance, which is really interesting stuff. Not many romance films like this. Lighting, cinematography, everything is excellent. It's an unusual film, but I absolutely love it.
I just had to quickly look it up. The imagery looks familiar, but I've either just seen the DVD floating around or I've seen the film and I can't remember it, so I can't comment. Ray?
I can't comment either. I guess I got to watch more Shinya Tsukamoto movies because I feel like I'm out of the conversation with it.
Well,
I think the only ones I can remember watching right now are like Tetsuo the Iron Man and the sequel, and I can't recall watching his other stuff.
Check him out. He's my favorite Japanese director.
Yeah?
Wow. All right. Big call. All right. So we're down to number one. All right. Ooh. My number one film is one of my favorite movies of all time. We've already spoken about it. It's Battle Royale.
Yeah.
It's the movie it's one of those movies that was a life-changing movie. I had watched many Japanese movies in the past, like growing up, and just ones I caught on TV or whatever, but I was in my last year of high school when this film got released, and Australia being the country that it is, it was very controversial for the time. You know, this is 2000, right on 2000 this film came out.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like, oh my God, it's kids murdering kids. We can't allow anyone to see this movie. So it was one of those movies that there was a lot of backlash from like lobby groups and parental groups, and I think even the censors. But it did get a release here, and I managed to see it. I wasn't old enough to see it because it was an R-rated film, but I did anyway because I was one of those guys. It's like, I'm going to see this movie. You tell me I can't watch a movie, I'm going to watch it somehow or another. And I remember seeing it, and it's the Japanese movie that made me kind of go, wow, this is incredible. And not long after, that's when the J-horror boom. Well, the J-horror boom had kind of started already with Ring, because Ring was like 98, but it really started around like the early 2000s. And man, Battle Royale, it's one of my favorite movies. And a lot of people criticize The Hunger Games for being a ripoff. I've never read The Hunger Games, and I've never seen a film. I have no interest in it. From what I understand, the writer of The Hunger Games said that she or he had never heard of Battle Royale, but apparently the similarities are very close. But then you need to look at things like Battle Royale is really a Lord of the Flies story. If you guys remember Lord of the Flies, you know, you got this group of kids that end up on this island and they have to survive, and some of them end up killing each other, whatever. And that story's been told many times. This is just doing it in a slightly different way. And I think The Hunger Games just takes that same story again and puts a different spin on it. But Battle Royale is one of the best Japanese films ever made, in my opinion. So do you guys have anything else you want to add about Battle Royale?
I think if you want to see another kind of a more truer ripoff of Battle Royale, you should watch The Condemned with the Stone Cold Steve Austin.
What?
Yeah. It's fun. And it's essentially Battle Royale, but it has Stone Cold Steve Austin as the lead character.
So is it basically is it an American remake, or is it just a ripoff? It's a ripoff. But
yeah, it's not an official remake, but it's the same concept. Like these criminals, not students, but these criminals get shifted off to an island, and they basically have to fight for the death for ratings. I think it was essentially like that.
Okay, so it's the same movie. basically. Right.
Yeah.
I'll add that to my list of Stone Cold Steve Austin movies I haven't seen, which the list is a mile long, by the way, because I don't think I've ever seen one. All right, so that was my number one film. Ray, what is your number one Japanese film?
Well, let's take it back to our best movies of 2010 to 2017. I ended with a Sono Shion movie, and I'm going to end this one with a Sono Shion movie as well, and that is with Love Exposure.
Okay.
So, like, Love, for me, I was always hesitant on starting Love Exposure because of its runtime. It was 4 hours. But I had a free afternoon one time. I decided, I'm just going to go into it and just watch it. And all in one go, as you guys have said. And from beginning to end, I didn't feel the 4 hours pass by at all. It was just like, I was kind of sad, like, oh, is it ending soon? Like, you kind of feel the ending coming upon. And at that moment, it was like, well, I guess it's time to say goodbye. But I really like the characters. I really like how perverted it was because it fed into the kind of guilty pleasures I liked, and I thought it was just fun and gripping, like all the way through. And like I said, I didn't notice the runtime at all. And the reason why I put it over Battle Royale, like I said earlier, it was really hard to distinguish or to choose which one I liked more. But I think between the two, Love Exposure, well, I still enjoy the Sono Shion's movies, so that's one reason. And also, it kind of fed more into kind of the guilty pleasures I really enjoy watching in movies. So yeah, Love Exposure.
Cool. All right, Eric, what's your number one?
I'm going with Pulse from 2001. Kiyoshi Kurosawa. Yep. You got Kumiko Aso in this. She's been in a bunch of stuff. And the other actress, Koyuki, I find to be just stunning in her beauty as well. Everybody know this is a film about suicide and things like that. And it's links to the supernatural. One thing that I kind of noticed after watching the American remake and kind of comparing the two is that this film, really, the ghosts never actually attack anyone throughout this entire film. Like, if you look at the way they interact with people, it's mostly about communication there. And then what the people decide, how to handle this information they're receiving from the ghosts. Very depressing film as well. First time I saw this, it really affected me emotionally. And this movie was my ultimate gateway movie to everything. Because once you watch, like a Kiyoshi Kurosawa film that's an art house film that moves as slow as molasses in January, and you love it, you can watch anything. Classics, obscure French films that don't matter. So this was like the ultimate gateway film for me.
Cool. It's definitely one everybody should check that movie out. It's, like I said earlier, because I've got it on my list, I think it's definitely the best of that kind of era of J-horror films because there's a lot more going on. That's it. We're done.
Woo!
So I'll get you guys to send me a message on Twitter because that's the best way to communicate. If you can just send me the lists and I'll upload them in the description once this is finished processing and all that jazz.
Most def.
Cool. Well, thanks everyone who's watching now. I know we haven't had huge numbers this entire time because there's been some fight happening, some boxing match that no one is talking about.
Well, it's over now, I think.
Do you know who won?
What's his name?
The boxer?
The boxer, yeah. Mayweather won. Mayweather, yeah.
Yeah, well, I predicted that the other day. People were asking me during my live stream, who do you think's going to win? It's like, obviously, it's a boxing match. The boxer's going to win. The guy who's won, every fucking title ever.
You know who I want to fight right now?
Who?
Adam Wingard. Get me in the ring with that guy. He won't remake another Asian movie ever again.
Yeah, well.
Oh, well, after I saw The Devil.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I read something earlier today that they actually might be doing another Netflix Death Note film if this one does well. But I don't understand how they can judge how well it does. Does it just mean how many views it gets or how many upvotes it gets?
I don't know how that works.
Because most of the press for this thing is bad. Most people are saying, "Oh, this is terrible." You've either got people that are like us, where we're like, "Yeah, we hate it, but we're not yelling and screaming about it." But then I think the majority of reviews I've seen are a lot of people just going a bit too crazy and getting way more offended than they should be. But I mean, we live in the age of being offended about everything these days.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
And I don't even think whitewashing was the worst part of the movie. It was just a boring movie.
Yeah, exactly. That's the least thing you have. The thing is, though, if they had Asian American actors in that movie with that exact same script, the exact same director, it would still be the exact same film. Everyone would still have the same reaction. Oh, that was shit. So
I think the problem was that they didn't whitewash it enough. Why are they using the names of the old characters? It's just like begging for comparison. Should have been like Chuck versus Bob and just have a Death Note drop in the U.S.
Well, that's what I said. It should have been an entirely just have the Shinigami or just change the entire thing. Call it Death Note if you want to call it Death Note, but it should just be when you're trying to just set the Japanese story in America, it just doesn't work. But, I don't know. We'll see how I Saw the Devil goes. I hope he uses those same two actors. I didn't mind the guy that played L. I think he was the least offensive.
Oh man, that Nat Wolf guy when he was screaming near the beginning of that movie. Wow, that shriek was bad.
I laughed out like I was hysterically laughing at that.
Me too. I think everyone was like,
what the hell is this?
Hey, that wasn't the first time he screeched. It was like all throughout, like
several times throughout the movie, and you're like, why? Yeah,
I say the devil doesn't incorporate the same screeching either.
Oh, I think I'd love him to play the Lee Byung-hun character. I think he'd do such a great job,
Yeah.
And who could we get for the Choi Min-sik character?
Michael Cera.
Actually, that would be amazing. Could you imagine? If they're going to do it, they may as well just make it as bad as possible.
Or Justin Bieber. You could really cash in.
Has he done a movie yet?
Oh yeah, he's had like cameo roles, but they had that documentary thing with him too, whatever. But
I think it should be Michael Cera versus the guy who did Lex Luthor. What's his name?
Oh, Jesse
Eisenberg.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah.
Wow. In I Saw the Devil.
I think Eisenberg would make a good Lee Byung-hun.
Yeah.
Michael Cera would be a good Choi Min-sik.
Yeah. Can we make that happen?
Nice.
Can we start a petition or something? Because I would rather, if they're going to remake it, I would rather than do something like that, so at least we can make fun of it. I don't know, Adam. If they're going to remake I Saw the Devil, because there was talk about remaking The Chaser when The Departed came out, because The Departed's the remake of Infernal Affairs, and The Departed is arguably one of the best remakes of an Asian film. Because it's Scorsese, and Scorsese.
I disagree, but
you don't
that's
like
okay.
It?
No,
you don't like The Departed?
No, we're hitting a lot of movies tonight that I don't like, aren't we?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I don't know. I do like The Departed.
I like it too.
Yeah, but I think I don't know. I think Scorsese might be able to do an I Saw the Devil remake. Potentially, I don't know. I don't know who you would get. Like, if they're going to do it, if you could choose anyone other than Adam Wingard, who would you choose?
Maybe like Fincher?
Yeah.
Or,
Tarantino.
Yeah, well, yeah, Fincher. Well, he did the remake of what was it? The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yeah.
So... Yeah, and Tarantino, I don't know. I think Tarantino would have more respect for it to not remake it, maybe. He would just rip it off and call it something else. And try to sell it as one of his original films.
We should have another podcast where it's like if we could remake Asian movies, who would we cast to star and direct? That'll make a good video.
That would be a good one too. All right. Well, let's end it there. It's been like 3 hours or so. We don't want to keep boring people, and I need to eat something. And I don't know about you guys. And Ray needs to get away from his cat because he's got allergy issues.
Yeah, it's starting to get a lot fat.
I'm going to give that Death Note film a second chance. I'll tell you guys what I think.
What the
one from last night?
You're going to watch it again?
No, I'm going to bed, man. Come on.
All right, guys. I'll see you later.
Right.
Thanks for joining me. Don't forget to email me.
Next time.
Yep.
Most definitely.
See you.
All right, guys.
Bye.